live stream. It's this new thing. It doesn't tell you anything about it, so you can't like promote it. So you have to wait until you go live to then promote it. So there's always this little thing on the beginning where it's like, oh, I'll bet they're copying and pasting the link to the Twitter, and I'll bet they're doing these things so the people can go back and rewind it.
It's Zoom?
Yeah, it's on Zoom and it's gonna be on YouTube, and it says it's streaming live on YouTube. But no one knows about it. So let's see. I'm going to try this way. Maybe save me a half second. Almost. But yeah, the other idea is that maybe keeping the door open and just like letting people know that we're in here. Because we always get hidden back away somewhere. And then people are like, oh, no, I shouldn't do an amazing live interview that'll actually reach people and last forever. I should sit there and watch speeches that are going to be on YouTube already. I don't get it. Yeah. Let's see. Which one do we like? All right. That's Kramer today. Yeah, there we go.
You can also add me if you want. Add Vitus. VITUS_ZE. Yeah. Satoshi, you can also do a hashtag, one word.
No one uses hashtags anymore.
Oh, really?
It's outdated. I use the Bitcoin one still, but it's just like a tradition. I don't really believe that it works.
Okay.
There was a time, I believe, when people would do the hashtags and they would search for them, and you'd be like, I'm interested in Bitcoin, so I follow that hashtag. But I feel like it's long gone.
Not happening.
Oh, I was gonna charge my phone too. That'd have been smart. That's all right. There's a cable around here somewhere. Let's see. Either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, it might get us more people if it's open. They'll think that like, wow, there's interviews going on. I should get involved in that. So that's what I think. But yeah, generally these mics will work. So let's see. Someone's sight reading. All right. So yeah, retweet this. Good. Let's see if we got our chat back. Oh, here we go. Oh, I know. We know it started. We're pretending you guys haven't come in yet. All right. Eventually we have to close the door if they're just going to stand there. People, I swear. All right, hold on a second. Let me close the door. It's worth it. It'd be better to have the marketing, but people are just going to sit there. All right, let's go even closer than this.
All right.
Better. Good morning, Bitcoins, and welcome back to part 2 of the World Crypto Network's live coverage from the Lightning Conference in Berlin. We're joined by Vitus from Team Satoshi. How's it going?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So what do you guys do at Team Satoshi?
Well, basically, it's just a hobby project of mine. So what I did was on 3rd January this year, for the 10th anniversary of Genesis block.
Yeah.
I did a little bike tour. I started in Florence, where 600 years ago modern banking started.
Nice.
And I went to Frankfurt in front of the ECB, crossing the Alps, and a lot of snowy and icy days. And my mission was not only to do the bike tour, but to pay every night in the hotel with Bitcoin.
Whoa.
So yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Out of 9 nights, bless you.
Caught that one, but yeah, no, it's going to keep happening.
Out of 9 nights, I paid 7 nights with Bitcoin. 2 nights it didn't work out, unfortunately.
That's pretty good. I went to Rovierto, the Bitcoin city, on the way out there.
Right.
And it was very nice.
Yeah, I didn't pass through Rovereto.
Yeah.
I passed directly, basically, pretty much directly from Florence to Frankfurt. It was 1,000 kilometers. I had to be able to do it in 10 days because it was the 10th anniversary. So yeah.
Nice.
And now we did another project. It was called Satoshi Triathlon. It was a freestyle triathlon, 4-day freestyle triathlon from Zug in Switzerland to Munich.
Mhm.
This is what we produce. This running gear.
Very cool. So you got local Bitcoin sponsored you. Who else sponsored you?
Yeah, that's Bitcoin and Co podcast from Anita Posch.
Cool.
And yeah, we're searching for more sponsors. So we're gonna produce. There's quite a bunch of people now who want the shirts, who want to run with those shirts, and we want to encourage that, obviously, to bring out the ideas of the cypherpunks and Bitcoin. And yeah, there's also a website if anybody wants to join, support, or talk about Team Satoshi. Just visit teamsatoshi.org. You can also create your own challenges. It's a wiki site, so you can create an own account, create own sports challenges, and maybe you can find a community in your local country that maybe donates or helps you doing your own challenges.
Well, that sounds great. And I've always thought that we should have a jersey like this and that people should have the sponsorships. And even with this conference here, I looked on the back of the bag and there wasn't anything. In the back of the t-shirt, there's a couple of names, but there's not as many as I think there should be for such a allegedly rich industry with all these big companies. And I know a lot of people are cutting back on sponsorships and it's a bear market and all those kind of things. But I really do think it provides value to the community when you have your name on the shirt, and when you guys are out there running, you're putting in your time. The least we could do is have the sponsors support you as well.
The thing is also you get a lot of exposure. You know, like sportsmen spend a lot of time doing their sports. So we also have cycling clothes. They spend a lot of time doing that sports, and these clothes hold for many years. So they spend them for good reason, for good purpose. They run outside, people see it, so it gets a lot of exposure, and I think that's good for the Bitcoin space, hopefully, and for the sponsors as well. Yeah,
definitely. And I know for like the conference here, I was looking at the swag that I gave us, and it's all interesting. And then you get to the bag, and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to use all the time. I still have like an old bag from Miami like 3 years ago that's kicking around holding my equipment. I'm like, oh, that's a good bag. Like this is, useful. Take you to the grocery store. It says Lightning on it. Nobody cares what Lightning is. So it's really good. Like the whole Bitcoin thing got a little heavy, like holding a Bitcoin bag everywhere, showing it off. Like you're not really showing it off. You're like a fan of the technology. You're not crazy rich with it like everyone thinks. But yeah, just because you have an old bag. So that's cool. So you did bicycle riding, you did running. What else are you going to do? Are you going to do a triathlon, like a combination of
actually the Satoshi triathlon was actually a triathlon. So it was 4 days of like swimming, running, and biking. So we also crossed the biggest lake in Germany, 12-kilometer swim.
That Lake Constantine?
Bodensee. It's called Bodensee. So yeah, that was a 5-hour swim. And we did 290 kilometers of cycling and 65 kilometers of running. Wow! So it was quite a challenge. We prepared for it for quite a while. And also, Jeremias Kangas from Local Bitcoins joined the first day. So yeah, he's also quite sporty. I was very surprised on how he managed to do that. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is a great way to expose people that maybe aren't into sports, or to get them to start training. And they're just kind of, anyone can do this. Anyone can be an athlete. It takes a lot of work, but if you put in the work, you can do it. And there's this thing, Bitcoiners only eat meat, or Bitcoiners only sit behind their computer all the time. I think we need to break these stereotypes when you say there's all kinds of Bitcoiners. There's sporty Bitcoiners, nerdy Bitcoiners, meat eaters, vegetarians, men, women, other things. Like everybody can be a Bitcoiner.
It's a diverse space. And I mean, I think the carnivores can use some exercise for sure. And the non-carnivores as well. So I'd like to become a Bitcoiner thing, to take care of their own body and their own health and start exercising. So I don't know if you heard about the Run for Hal Finney.
No, when are you going to do that?
No, it's actually already happened. So nice. On September 6, 2009, Hal Finney ran his last run. He was already diagnosed with ALS. So for the 10th anniversary, we asked Bitcoiners to join for a run. Anywhere, any speed, any time, any distance. And so many people joined, including Matt Corallo and Rene Pickard and quite a few known people. And so we're gonna do that on a yearly basis. Now the next event will probably be for the Hal Finney. So yeah.
The Hal Finney.
Yeah.
Hal Finney.
So probably a half marathon up a mountain to, I don't know, draw a little bit the price expectations.
Yeah, have the price follow. That'd be good. I really like it when I mean, it's tough because the minute I say this, it'll get terrible. But I like it when people recognize Hal Finney. I think he's really good. He's got a real symbol to him. The way that he was so into Bitcoin, he helped out Satoshi all the time with the testing. He could have taken advantage of the system and gotten a bunch. And then even then, I'm sure his family, they seemed like they sold it way early and they benefited, but not that much. And then, of course, you know, the disease and then the silencing and then maybe being frozen or something. He's a very fascinating guy. And to bring him onto this run, I think is really cool. I'm afraid corporations will take it and there'll be a Hal Finney conference next year. There'll be all these like put his name on tokens or whatever. I hope that doesn't happen, but I like this idea.
Thank you. So. Yeah. A lot of people liked it, I think. So we were encouraged to do it again, and we'll definitely do it as a yearly thing.
Yeah.
Memory of him.
Well, and so many people are just about the money, and Hal's one where it's about the technology. He was on the Cypherpunk mailing list. He wanted this thing to happen. He thought about ways to break it. He thought about like future problems, like, oh, but if the price is this much, he's got all those Bitcoin talk forums where he's like, oh yeah, if the price is this much, we'll have to do this, this, and this. And he's totally right. Like we ran into all the problems that he foresaw just having thought experiments and just thinking about it. So.
Right. I mean, and I think not just the technology, was also interested in the philosophy behind it. I mean, the whole cypherpunk ideals, he was a cypherpunk.
Yeah.
And that's, I think when I talk to people in my network, in my surroundings, what people usually don't understand is the ideas that Bitcoin is based or where Bitcoin actually came from. And if you start with explaining these ideas first, before you start with what a block is or what a transaction is or what Bitcoin actually is, when you start with these ideals first, people listen to you. When you start with the technology first, they don't listen to you. So that's what I've learned in like now 6 years trying to advocate for Bitcoin. Start with the ideas, start with the cypherpunks where Bitcoin come from.
I think that's the way to go, because then they know why things are happening. Like, because otherwise you could just do it in a centralized database and it could be owned by Facebook and it wouldn't matter. But if you're trying to have it distributed and decentralized and, you know, so people can't tell what you're doing, they can't cancel your spends, they can't say we don't accept money from you. You know, it's just this kind of pseudo-anonymous tokens being sent around. And there's a reason for all this, but if you don't know the philosophical side or what they're trying to do, or even what the cypherpunks are trying to do, it doesn't make any sense. You know,
it doesn't make sense, and you become suspect. Why would you do that? You know, like, is there just illegal activity behind it? And no, you have to make sure people understand what the ideas are about and why this is essential for our future.
Yeah, I saw Jameson Lopp's talk yesterday, and he was talking about privacy and how you know, his family was swatted. They sent the SWAT team in after them. And then after that, of course, he kind of freaked out and had a whole privacy thing, and he tried to be private. And one of the big notes that he said is that everyone's always, oh, I don't have anything to hide, all those things. But he had this tweet, and I've already forgotten her name again, but this poor woman, she went on an airplane, and she left behind a joke tweet before she took off. And it's a terrible joke tweet. I don't even really want to repeat it, but she was like, oh, I'm a white person. I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, joke. And like the lady's joking. She's just not good at joking. And she puts this joke up there. And pretty much by the time her airplane lands, she doesn't even know this is happening. The entire internet's mad at her. 3,000 retweets, hundreds of responses. You're a terrible racist lady. And again, she's just making a stupid joke. Like she tried humor. She failed. Humor is a hard concept, takes a lot of risk. And what Jameson was saying is that obviously this lady now has something to hide, and she's like exemplifying to all of us why privacy matters, why we need some kind of privacy, some kind of something. What are you missing, Max? Is it behind the things? Took it out where? Did you set it somewhere? Because I mean, in here, I think we're pretty secure. I got the internet watching it. All right, well, we're gonna keep looking for Max's bag. Yeah. All right, go find it. We're set up. See, sometimes this works, like the live stream and the couch, but sometimes like it fails quick.
Okay.
And then you're like sitting here, and then the vultures come and they're like, can we use your room? Like I noticed you stopped using the room for like 10 seconds to eat some food. Maybe we could use the room for an hour to do nothing. And I'm like, that doesn't make, why did I set up there and all my stuff so we do nothing? But no. But so what else are you guys gonna do? What's planned next? You got the Hal Finney half marathon every year. And again, I love all the, you got to do HAL, like, so it's a half marathon and it's a halfening. Yeah. And again, his name is like also great because he's the computer, right? He's HAL 9000, which is one letter off from IBM. Yeah. That's how they got the name for that.
The next projects, I mean, we'll see. So what's happening is we also created a lightning torch. It's called Team Satoshi Torch or TS Torch.
Nice.
And so it's handed around from athlete to athlete. We handed it around during the triathlon.
Cool.
And now there are a few marathon runners that had it. And today somebody is running a marathon, an ultra marathon in Singapore with the lightning torch. Next weekend, somebody is running it in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, marathon. And the weekend after, somebody is running with the Team Satoshi torch at the New York City marathon. So yeah, I'd like to go to, you know, that torch also move around. The idea is basically almost like the Olympic fire.
Yeah.
From athlete to athlete, bringing it forward. And they all add the kilometers that they did in sats. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the idea with the TS Torch. And what else? I mean, yeah, yesterday we did a community run before the conference.
Nice.
So maybe we can do that for several conferences, you know, to engage Bitcoiners to be healthy and do exercise.
Well, I would start with a walk.
Yeah,
but I think a walk is a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we need to have these kind of diverse events. Like a lot of us sit in the chair all the time. I edit video. Other people write programs or they write articles and stuff. It's a lot of chair, and we're stuck there. And so I think doing some walks. I always try to encourage people to see the city that they're visiting. A lot of people just come to the conference and then they go back to the airport. Yeah. And especially like Berlin, there's so many great museums here and just so much history and
a lot to see.
Buildings. And I think maybe combine that with a walk, just get the people out. Like so many times now we have these big carnivore meeting things and they eat a bunch of steak and they think that's really healthy for them. And I'm sure in the short term they'll be fine, but in the long term it's going to be really bad. Whereas in the short term, if we could get people just to do some exercise, to do a walk, to do even clomping up and down the stairs here would be more than all these people are going to get.
Sure. So. I mean, any exercise is good for your body and a healthy diet is important. So, yeah.
And then on the torch thing, I forget his name and that's happening more and more lately, but there's a guy on Twitter. I think he plays for, I want to say like the Los Angeles Rams football team in America. So like it's a big... Russell, I think is, And I don't know him or anything, but as a sports thing, this seems really up his alley. So I don't know if you could get him to take the torch, get him to wear one of the shirts, maybe go try to see him at a practice or a game or something, slip a little note, hey, we're Bitcoiners too. And, you know, we think it's super cool. You're a professional football player. You're obviously crazy fit and like all into this. And then just try to involve him because we don't have many athletes. I think we should have more. I've seen things. There's a soccer team or a football team that has a big Bitcoin on their logo that one of the betting companies or something is doing. And I think that's great. I mean, I think it's a kind of exposure. I was a big fan. They only did it one time, but I was a big fan of the BitPay Bitcoin Bowl college football game. I watched it on TV. We did a live stream. We commentated the whole thing. It was very thrilling to have Bitcoin in the big screen and everything. And even though the announcers were like, oh, we don't know what Bitcoin is, but it's today's sponsor. And I was like, that's good enough. You know, it's getting the word out there. So they're saying in the chat, you should try a Segway or a scooter tour. That sounds good for maybe the less fit people. At least they could still join along. But you really want to get that heartbeat going. You want to get the pounding.
Normally, yes. Normally, yes. I mean, normally exercise has to do with your own muscles and not with the battery. If you use the battery, do it, but also use your own muscles.
That's the way to go. And I think the key there, start small. Like if you don't exercise at all, just around the block is good. You can do 5 minutes a day. Like maybe you can do 10 minutes in a few weeks. It's the big mistake that I always do is I always go from 0 to walking really far or 0 to running, and then
Yeah.
you just get worn out and you can't do it. So.
I mean, if you want to start exercising, start today with a very small step. You know, the first step is a good step, and you'll notice once you get into a little bit of a habit, every time after doing an exercise, you'll feel good about it. You get the runner's high or the sports high, which actually exists. And I mean, I have to say, before the triathlon we did this year, I wasn't a good swimmer, so I didn't have much of swimming technique. I did a small swimming course, and then I trained myself to be able to do 14 kilometers. So
nice, that's amazing, man.
So yeah, it's, you can do anything. Just put your mind to it. It's the same in Bitcoin. Obviously, if you want to learn about the technology, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Same with sports and exercise.
The other really neat thing to notice is that action comes before motivation. Like nobody feels like going to the gym, but if you take action, and one of the easiest actions is to put your shorts or your gym clothes on. Right. That's one of the parts of going to the gym or going on a run. And if you're sitting there around your house in your gym clothes, you're probably going to go for a run that day. Otherwise, you're just going to sit around the house all day being like, why am I all ready for a run but not running? It's just like you put on your pajamas to go to bed. Like you want to go for a run, put on your gym clothes, put on your shorts. That's the first step. Not like wanting to do it. Like I never want to do it. But if I put the clothes on and I sit around, I'm like, why am I wearing these clothes? And then if I go run and then come back, have a shower, whatever, it's like, I did it. I'm done. And I don't have to do it anymore. So major key.
Yeah, it becomes fun. Like once you get into the habit, it really becomes good fun.
All right. And where can people learn more about Team Satoshi?
Just visit teamsatoshi.org. If you want to see what Team Satoshi has done so far, go on Twitter, #Team Satoshi. There's a lot to find there. That's it.
All right. Thanks so much for the interview.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So come on down. We got our next victims coming in. We're going to go out to the wide shot here, maybe. Yeah. You can sit here if you want.
What's up, Piers? Here's the camera. We got 3 of them.
Oh,
with professional duct tape around it. So
looks good. Looks good.
Right. So we're joined by Oliver Gugger. Right? How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's been quite a week. So it's been going on for a few days now. But it's first day of the conference, and yeah, I'm so glad to be here. It's all just amazing. Organization is like perfect and flawless so far. Right. The talks are all on time, and
none of the talks have taken any time from the others, and that's crazy because 20 to 30 minute talk slots and no break in between. So it really is tight on time.
So you can imagine the preparation that went into this. So yeah, congrats to the organizers. I know that especially Desiree and Elizabeth have put a lot of work in, but of course also Fulmo. So thank you very much. It's really awesome to be here. And
absolutely right. Yeah. And have you seen the second floor?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
How crazy is that? How awesome many lighting projects are there?
Yeah, I haven't had time to check out everything, but I know that the beer tap is here, obviously, and I will need to check out the rest. It's like lightning wonderland up there. It's like the rabbit hole is happening upstairs. So, yeah.
And of course, the Lightning Tap, right? That was your previous company / project, the Puzzles LTC, right? Great open source contribution company. And you did that beer tap, right?
No. I did part of the software, but the actual hardware and the idea was from Thomas Filippona, the CTO of the company. But I helped to bring it to the Hack Day in Munich. So, and that's where my journey to Lightning Labs actually started. So that's why it's a fond memory of, with coupled to the beer tap.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
The beer on Lightning, perfect. I mean, that's how you get new projects.
Yeah, right.
So you switched to working with Lightning Labs.
Yes, exactly. So Johan approached me, Johan Halsa from Lightning Labs approached me in Munich and told me about the open positions. And after thinking for a while and figuring out my options, I thought, okay, let's just try. Let's just apply. And then they accepted my, gave me a position, and I started about a month ago, so mid of September.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's so great. And now I met everyone this week.
Yeah.
Actually came here a few days ago. Almost the whole team is here. So
it's like really like the L&D team is just completely here. Pretty much all of the.
Yeah, it's just Lee, the designer, couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we're like 12 people
fantastic.
here. It's or 13.
And so, what's your position at Lightning Labs?
It's called infrastructure engineer. I started working on Loop for the first few weeks, and also continued on the LSAT stuff that Lalu showed today. So the demo was partially my doing, and I will continue this, and then some other projects that have not yet been disclosed. And it's a lot going on. It's very, very interesting. And
so let's talk a bit more about Loop. What exactly is that? How does it work?
It's a service that helps you to manage your liquidity. So there's two ways you can use it. It's loop out and loop in. It's basically the direction you're moving the funds, and it's always an atomic swap. So you do off-chain to on-chain or the other way. So off-chain to on-chain is moving the balance away from you, so you have capacity for incoming payments. So a merchant would want to do loop out, and someone that mostly spends and moves the balance to the other side maybe wants to get it back, and they can use loop in to like recharge their channels.
And so what Bitcoin scripts do you use so that it's actually secure in a way that it's and trustless?
It's an HTLC, so it's a hashed time lock contract. So the amount on chain is encoded to a hash of a pre-image, and by paying the off chain, so the Lightning payment, you get the secret, the pre-image. Through that payment that you can then use to unlock the on-chain funds. And it works the same way in the other direction, just with opposite roles. So it's completely trustless. But since it's a service that we offer, we take a fee because we have to manage liquidity and run the service. And the backend is closed source. Maybe it will be open source. I don't know. It's not my decision to make, but the client is all open source. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And so how do you handle the amounts? Like, how is this negotiated? Right, because the HTLC or the payment over Lightning must be minus the fee, of course, the same as the one on chain. So how are the negotiations for which denomination to use?
You ask for a quote. So you talk to the backend service, say, hey, I want to loop for like 500K Satoshis. And it tells you, okay, our fee is going to be that much. On-chain B is probably going to be around that much. And then they're just going to give you an invoice that you have to pay. And that, it's only been a few weeks, so I can't go into all the details because I just don't know. But it's pretty transparent on where you pay what fee, and
very good, very good.
Yeah.
And so, as you said that in the hash itself, the kind of secret is committed, right? As soon as you pay that invoice, you get the secret that you use to get chain funds.
Correct. Yeah.
But how do I know that secret is actually contained in that invoice, right? So like because it's hashed, right? It's the invoice, so I don't know the pre-image. Is there some assurance that this hash is actually the committed secret?
You can. I don't know if that is actually implemented or if you get the script that is committed on chain that contains the hash. So if the Lightning payment has the same hash in it, you know that by paying it, you will get the pre-image for that one.
Right, it's the same hash.
I don't know if you can derive that yourself or whether the server would need to send you the whole script that is put on chain. That's another detail I will need to look into, but it can be done trustlessly. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very good, right? And that shows just the power of what HTLCs actually can do, right? You commit to a secret to then do something to reveal the secret and something else happens.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very powerful.
And I don't know if you've seen the talk Alex Bosworth in Baltic Honey Badger, where he talked about making looping out even more cheap for you as a user than doing an on-chain payment yourself. So by batching all the outputs and doing some even more magic, you could end up paying less on-chain fee than you would by just doing a payment yourself. So there's so much potential to even optimize this. And maybe in the future, me as a user, I only have off-chain balance, so everything's on Lightning. And if I need to pay something on-chain, I just do a hyperloop, what Alex calls it, and would even save on fees.
Yeah, and actually, as soon as Alex spoke about this hyperloop concept, the entire Wasabi Wallet team like freaked out because we're like, oh, there's a great opportunity for coin joins.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So how could that be combined?
Yeah, it would be a great privacy gain as well, because then your payment, your loop out is just one payment amongst many. And since you don't see the off-chain payment, because Lightning is private, it would just be hidden. It looks like, the loop server is just paying 100 people, and your address is just one of them. So
that's very, very exciting, right?
It's like CoinJoin that is cheaper than doing on-chain payment that lacks all privacy, right? So
exactly. So you get both the privacy from Lightning Network, right? And then even on-chain, you get the anonymity side of a CoinJoin. So that really is fantastic. And in that sense, it would just be that the back-end server actually has to receive the Lightning Network payments. Right. And then he just constructs a batched transaction that ultimately then pays out whatever destination the user chooses.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. It is a bit difficult to handle all that liquidity, because you have to have both off-chain and on-chain liquidity. And at the moment, loop out is much more popular than loop in. So at the moment, the funds flow into one direction, so it's not circular yet. So we do have kind of a bit of a liquidity problem. So if people want to earn some sats, open channels, turn nodes. I think Alex posted the pub key somewhere in Slack. Just go look it up. And because Alan Beek has raised his fees, so we only have very expensive inbound liquidity. So if you want to go below that and make some sats, just try.
The beauty of an open market for these channel providers, right?
Correct.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get, or like, how was the feedback so far from the community? How was the usage of the service of loop in and loop out?
I don't know. Alex is the person who talks to everyone mostly, so he knows about who's using it and what their feedback is. I couldn't tell. I just looked into it from the technical side. So.
Awesome. Very cool. And with HTLCs are great, right? But it's a pre-image and a hash. And with Schnorr signatures, right, we can do similar concepts, like committing to a secret, doing something with the commitment, revealing the secret, and doing something with the secret. But it's all hidden in a public key and signature. Yeah. So when we have Schnorr, how could that change specifically the loop in and loop out?
Good question. I haven't looked into that much, this too much, but I guess you could just use the secret instead of using a hash time lock as the tweak for the pub key. So only if you know the tweak, you can arrive at the private key that you need to create the signature for it. But I don't know if this is secure or not. I'm not really a protocol engineer, so I guess other people will figure it out, and then I'll help implement it. So.
You see?
That's more my role, or at least at the moment. Because there's so much to learn. I mean, I did dabble a little bit with Schnorr, but just doing something on a curve is way different from making something secure and reliable. So
yes, actually, and especially with Schnorr and these multi-round communications, you really have to like take good care on the details. Because if you like use a nonce twice or something, you lose your private key.
You want someone that knows cryptography to look through this before it would actually implement it.
Well, very good. So as far as I know, but I'm not sure, you're also working a bit on macaroons.
Yeah,
Or at least tinkering on it.
I did some pull requests for the macaroons in L&D, so that's more or less my entry into Lightning Labs, because they saw that my work, even though it's not yet merged, I'm working on that one. But yeah, I did some things with macaroons, and so that helped me to now pick up the LSAT stuff, and it all looked quite familiar to me, and yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So maybe on the first, the high level concept, what are macaroons? What can we do with them?
It's similar to like JSON Web Tokens. So it's a cryptographically signed piece of data. So there's a signature. It's a HMAC based, so a hash based signature. So it's not very expensive in calculating it. And the idea is that you have a signature chain, so a hash chain, which means because it's a hash, you cannot go back if you don't know the whole the beginning, but you can always append stuff. If you use the result of a hash as the input for the next step, you can always add stuff, but if you don't know the beginning, you cannot remove stuff. So the idea is that the server knows the start, like the root key, and gives out this token. And you as a user, without knowing this private key, you can add restrictions to it. So I get an access token from my L&D node, and I can add a restriction to it, like, yeah, okay, this will be valid for 1 minute, and can give it to you. And I know for sure that this token will expire. Or I can like bind it to an IP address. I can say, yeah, okay, you can use my service, but only from that IP. Or something that I started implementing is like we could introduce the concept of an account in L&D. I could give it, create an account, add a few Satoshis to that account, and then give you a macaroon that is bound to that account. So you can only spend those Satoshis. So you can use my node to pay for stuff, but only up to that amount.
And so then for like keeping on that example, if then I have this 1,000 Satoshi worth account, I could further add the restrictions that it can only be paid to this IP address.
Exactly.
Or that there's not more than one Satoshi every day.
Everyone can like tighten the restrictions, but nobody can take away the restrictions because nobody knows the private key, but the node where it comes from.
Oh, that's actually very cool.
So this delegation of access, this fine-grained control, this is what makes them special. Yeah. And you can even do third-party stuff as well, but that's not yet used at the moment.
That's very cool though. That's
you
cool.
could say like, here's the macaroon, but go authenticate with like Google and then come back and then you can use the service or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. That would enable like two-factor authentication, or all this can all be done, right?
Yeah. So we're only starting with macaroons.
But I mean, macaroons are already used in L&D, right? So
Yes.
How are they used right now in the current implementation?
Right now, the data they contain is you're right. So we have a list of like 6 or 7 different topics or categories of things that you can do, like on-chain stuff, off-chain stuff, address stuff, and then you have a read-write. So it contains a list of what you're allowed to do. And we have 3 pre-generated macaroons, like the admin macaroon, the read-only, and the invoices, and they are just locked down to certain permissions. So that's in there. What are you allowed to do? And then you can add 2 restrictions if you want. One is the time, the expiration, and the other is the IP address. So these are the only 2 features that are currently implemented, but you could add many more. And some of my PRs will introduce, or I hope to introduce, new restrictions. So you could do stuff like we talked about. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Very exciting.
Yeah.
How can you revoke a macaroon?
You just delete the root key that you use to generate it, or you just rotate it, declare it invalid, and then every user that has a macaroon with that from that key won't be able to use it anymore.
Right, because it's your node, right? It's your server.
Yeah.
And you can change on your internal database what you want.
Exactly. Right? But yeah, you can have multiple root keys. So you could even say, yeah, I'm going to use a new key for every user, and then I can revoke them specifically. Yeah, that's all not yet implemented, but these are we have so many possibilities with that. Yeah,
actually, the possibilities really are quite awesome.
And I could really see something like a family node. Like at the moment, you have a router at home. It just does internet for you. So we could have a Lightning node. It just is the family's
it does money
wallet.
For you.
Yeah, it does money for you. It has a full node on it and Lightning, and everyone can connect to it with their wallet, remote wallet, and like the dad can manage who gets what amount or whatever. It could happen with that.
Either the dad or probably the 14-year-old son who's gonna hack it together.
More likely.
Oh, that is awesome. That's actually very cool. And so, but this gives access to the same channels. Or can you, for example, also have restriction to like specific channels?
You could create almost any restriction you can think of, right? I mean, the restriction is like two text fields. One is what kind of restriction is it, and then what value is it, and the node needs to know about it, so it has to be implemented. But you can do whatever you like. Yeah, you could say restrict this macro to a channel or whatever.
Oh, that just opens up so much.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, and I don't know, maybe that scares a lot of people. You would open your gRPC port to the world and give everyone access to it. But I mean, the Macaroons, we've had them in place for a while. And as far as I'm aware, there was never security issues on that protocol level. So it looks quite safe.
I mean, anyone could communicate with your node then over gRPC, but because they don't have the macaroon, your node is just going to ignore them. Right?
So, yeah. I mean, it is scary to open like this sensitive port to the world, but if you know that you take care of your admin macaroon and don't give it out,
but I was always a bit concerned with, for example, wallets that of course need this admin macaroon. Right, but then it's like it's kind of like giving a private key to just some random software.
And the problem at the moment is that there are only these 3 macaroons. So you have the read only, which doesn't really help you if you want to create invoices, and then you have the invoice, which allows you to create invoices but not pay them. So that's why at the moment most of these plugins or third parties ask for your admin macaroon. But I was able to put in my PR that creates new macaroons, so where you can specify the list of permissions you want to have. That's going to come with 0.9. I was promised, and I will look to it getting merged.
Very good. It will be here in 2 weeks. So just
exactly. We'll see.
But I mean, also then, like the cool other side is, as we said, you can revoke this macaroon. Right, so even if you give the macaroon out to a random service, as soon as you find out that something shady is happening, you can revoke that macaroon and you're good, right? Exactly. For on-chain Bitcoin or just like regular private keys, if you give someone the private key, you can't revoke it, right? They can do a signature with it, and that's valid.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the macaroons really are improvement on that front as well.
Yeah, something that I thought we could also do, but the talk today from Rusty kind of makes this obsolete. But with the account-based stuff, you could also say, I give you a macaroon, and every month you can come and pay yourself, basically. So like an option to do recurring payments through macaroons would also be a possibility. But now I guess this, if you want to do it in a bolt, that's also fine. But we could encode that every month, 2,000 Satoshis, come serve yourself, and I can revoke the macaroon whenever I want. So that would also be a model for subscription. But
actually,
I guess we're going to see which model will establish itself.
Oh, yeah, the macaroons really are powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we really are just getting started on that front. That's true.
Yeah. Oh, very awesome. Okay. What other privacy or like Lightning Magic are you working on?
I started this project. I think it was mainly for my talk because I wanted to have this graphics. I wanted to do a visualization of how an HTLC actually looks and how it travels through the network. So on the very technical level, so how does the script look? What amount is where with what time lock? I started on that. It's very, very early, so it's doesn't have any features, but you can already have a look at it. It's on my GitHub page. Just Google for Kukero and HTLC demo, and you should see it. And contributions welcome. So if you have an idea how to animate, it's all in D3. This JavaScript visualization. It's a bit tricky to handle, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome, right? And it's does it help you to kind of like visualize this on how you yourself think about it?
Yeah, because I still have trouble to understand exactly how the HLCs look for a payment, like a direction, because they're for each node pair, there are 2 HLCs. They're asymmetrical in the direction that the payment is going, and the time locks are different. And there are second stage transactions, and I think it's quite complicated, and it helps if I can write code for it, and it also helps if I can see it and play around. And my goal is to have I want to make a payment or simulate a payment of 100 Satoshis and then click through every step. So I see, okay, these 2 nodes communicate. This HTLC is coming from here, signed by that party, sent to the other one. So I could go through it and actually see what happens in these few milliseconds that it's done in real time. So
yeah. Might, and something like this might even help for just wallet design. Right, on how we maybe conceptualize a loading screen or something, right? Just maybe have it more let's say real, right? If you can adequately explain it.
Maybe, yeah. Why not? Why not show exactly what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, of course, like simplified, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But at least from a like rough, architecture standpoint.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah. Why not?
What are some of the new changes that might come to the protocol in general that you're excited about?
Yeah, as I said, I'm not the protocol dev, so I can only say what I heard from the discussions. So I don't think much new that we haven't heard in talks today. So AMP, of course. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Rusty's Bolt idea, what will happen with that. And
for the spontaneous payments, or?
Yeah, like this offer thing that he talked about. It's a bit more than spontaneous payments, like a step that happens before you actually create the invoice. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much. It just can't summarize it all.
Yeah, fantastic. So keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Again,
you too.
Well, you write the answers. So, okay, we have the protocol devs doing like the crazy magic. Then we have like application engineers like you actually building stuff with it. And then we have shills like us talking about it. So
which is also very important. So thank you for your work.
yes, for sure. So yeah, again, where can the people find you? What's the GitHub? How can they contribute?
Yeah, so my GitHub username and almost everywhere else is Kukero, so Gugero. On Twitter, I'm Google, so Gugol. Yeah, look it up, or just Google my real name and what the project you're looking for.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And see you on the next show.
Yep.
Hopefully then with some even more crazy magic that you work on.
Who knows? Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yeah, Pierce, just the lightning just continues to like no longer as much reckless, right? We're getting more and more there, but the magic.
Someone in the hall.
It's crazy.
Bring them in. Someone that you think would be interesting.
And Giacomo here behind the camera shit posting on Twitter.
That's all he does.
Of course.
Harder than that.
And he thought he could escape us, but no.
No, already I was already hijacked before, but very briefly.
Yeah. So you are. Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, technology is amazing.
Magic. So what are you tinkering on?
A lot of stuff. Mostly, I'm trying to organize better my education effort because I'm very tired of consultancy. So I'm trying to ditch banks for consultancy, which are very good money wise, and to start doing courses and workshops, which are a little
very
bit more difficult to organize and to monetize. But let's try. And technology wise, I'm still sponsoring open source nonprofit initiative. Mostly, it's I'm focusing on layer 2 and 3 application like timestamping, proof of publication, and asset with RGB. The RGB, the RGB effort, the RGB project, which is in a way what we will talk about in our talk here tomorrow. It's getting a lot of attention because it has an actual use case, which is basically tokens. So mostly what we are interested is like Tether
Shit
US
coins.
dollar. Yeah, shit. Well, there are a couple of shit coins that I kind of like. For example, Tether. If you think about Tether, it's very centralized, very risky, but it can be a way to actually overcome KYC in trading, especially in the secondary market, because it separates the complex trading stuff from the digitalization of US dollars. So if we assume that in hyper-Bitcoinization, the wealth is going to move from dollars to Bitcoin, and you need bridges, and the more these bridges can use a regulatory arbitrage like Tether does, the better. So I like the Tether shitcoin, one of the shitcoin I like, and I don't like the fact that they have to use either Omni, which is a very legacy protocol on Bitcoin, or shitcoins protocol like EOS, Ethereum, and stuff like that. So I'm excited for the idea that they can start using proper technology like liquid confidential assets or RGB confidential assets. The idea is to RGB is not a competitor of liquid. It's a different way to use a similar technology about confidential assets, but committed directly on chain. So it's I would say it's a complementary effort, and we are talking with Blockstream a lot in order to make it interoperable. But the nice thing is that this RGB stuff is an example of many things that you could do once you have Lightning Network working. So we talk about layer 3 solutions, meaning that once you have properly arranged trustless payments, you can build, for example, generalized message passing systems on top, incentivize, and that can become, now I start talking like a shitcoin, but imagine a future in which you can use monetize, incentivize message passing system in order to build mesh networks with incentive mechanism and storage system, this distributed storage system with incentive mechanism, maybe incentivize distributed computation, zero knowledge. So you can do a lot of, let's say that a lot of the ideas that shitcoins were based upon were not completely absurd, just too early, exaggerated in their effects, and maybe not yet ready because they didn't have all the ingredients ready. And now we can start to think about some science fiction applications. So I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely right. And especially RGB. I started to more look into it and trying to wrap my head around it. And it's like a quite brilliant solution. It has a bunch of complex magic happening in the background. But I think if like the protocol itself will work out into conceptual flaws, this might be very interesting.
Yeah, it's RGB has an interesting story because the idea is that the main core of the idea is Peter Tort's proposal of client-side validation. So the point is, when you are not moving Bitcoin but something else, don't use block space, the time chain block space, in order to see what I did there. In order to sneak, in order to try to free ride other people's storage and bandwidth. Don't do that. Use the time chain only for the thing that it does good, which is preventing double spending, and everything. Exactly. Well, that's more than that. Peter will be angry about that. It's not time stamping, but let's say time sealing. You're not stamping. You're not guaranteeing the date of a data, but the unicity of a data over some kind of space, which is what can prevent double spending. Time stamping is very easy to scale. You can aggregate millions of documents into one the proofs of millions of documents into one Merkle root. Just print the on chain the Merkle root, and you timestamped everything. Like Peter Todd and Riccardo Casato, they timestamped all the internet archives in one Bitcoin transaction, and they created a bot that every 5 minutes timestamped all the internet archives. Every single HTML tag was Merkelized, and the root was in an operator, and so they could just use one operator to Merkelize the entire.
Yeah.
So timestamping is easy.
Mm.
Time sealing, let's say, proving a publication, which is what Bitcoin does, is difficult because you cannot aggregate, because if you aggregate, you cannot prevent double spending. So that's more challenging from a scalability point of view. What Peter is working on is something called Proof Marshal, which is basically a way to aggregate a little bit of these proofs in a way that scales better and it's more private, but still prevents double spending. The thing is that this idea of client-side validation is cool, but I have at least two major drawbacks. The first is that you have to be online all the time to receive, because I am passing all the metadata to you directly. I'm not putting them on chain. And the second is that you basically cannot backup just the seed. You have to backup all the proofs, the off-band proofs. But what is very interesting is that with Lightning Network, you have this exact same problems with the channel states. You have to be online to receive an update directly. It's not a global consensus system. And you have to backup somehow your past channel states. So the idea of client-side validation that was too challenging from a UX point of view before, with Lightning, can just leverage the same kind of solutions of Lightning itself. So it becomes more feasible, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you see, and just, this can all build on top of each other, right? And utilizing the strengths of one layer to build on top of that with, some other trade-offs to make sure everything somehow works out.
Yeah, and the role I try to fulfill is exactly, every one of these solutions can build on top of the others, but it's very difficult to coordinate because everybody is redoing the same, reinventing the wheel. There are a lot of redundancies or a lot of parts that are then being less exciting. Nobody is doing. Everybody is doing duplicates of the same thing, and nobody is doing something else because it's less exciting. So what we're trying to do is to create a little bit of centralization in development, meaning that we try to coordinate and to incentivize the part that are less exciting and to reduce redundancy in the part that are more worked on. So standardization in a way.
And of course, and there might be some problems with the current bold specification of Lightning. So there's also the LNBBP, just entire general stack. So Lightning Network Protocol, Bitcoin Protocol.
Yeah.
What is that standardization you're working on?
So the main idea is that after we acquired the knowledge that layerization is the best thing to do, is the way forward. We have seen that the internet, for example, the IP layer with the TCP layer, with the HTTP layer, and so on, is pretty layerized, and probably the future ecosystem around Bitcoin will be layerized as well. And right now, the layerization is very dirty, very ugly. That's normal because any organic, ISO-OSI protocol was designed by bureaucrats, and so it was very clean, but it was never used. As opposed to the real internet, TCP/IP, it was messy because it emerged spontaneously, but it required a lot of effort to clean it up a little bit in order to make it reasonable. The same goes for LNPBP, so the analog of TCP/IP. Like BP, the Bitcoin protocol is like the internet protocol, IP, and on top of that you have a layer which is we call it TCP, but it's not just TCP itself. It's a name, it's a placeholder for TCP, UDP, a lot of other possible layer 2 internet protocols. The same goes for LNP, Lightning Network Protocol, but also maybe other, side chains, state chains, other things that rely on the underlying settlement layer. And so the idea is that what we are doing on RGB is part of a more global effort to create standard primitives, standard building blocks. It's not that we are really creating them. We are trying to take what smart people is doing and standardizing a little bit and put it together in a way that is kind of organized. It's very challenging, but if we succeed, we hope that it's not so unlike the effort that LibBitcoin was doing. The idea is to create a stack of two very simple tools which are reproducing what smart people created. So we don't reinvent the wheel, but we try to create an anthology of tools.
And of course, like the challenge that LibBitcoin has is that Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin D, is the reference implementation, is the spec itself. All the bugs, all the flaws, all the inefficiencies that it has.
Yeah.
And since it's a 100% consensus system, LibBitcoin needs to include all the bugs and all this nonsense from Bitcoin D, right, in order to still stay in consensus.
Yeah, the global consensus systems are such that you have to avoid failure of consensus at any cost. And so basically you cannot really, there was a lot of discussion about Ethereum or other shitcoins having a written reference specifications and Bitcoin being just code. But actually, when you want to avoid any kind of unpredictable side effects, you need code. You can, I mean, what you need is a written specification which is so formal, so verifiable, and so specific, and so accurate that actually that's code. The only way to run, the reason we invited the reason human beings invited programming languages and we don't talk with the computer just in English is that English is too ambiguous. When you want to specify something at the level which is so precise that even a machine can understand it, that's basically creating a programming language. So the idea, mostly pioneered by Peter Todd himself, is it's good that Bitcoin doesn't have a high-level English reference implementation. And indeed, what's one of the problems with Bolt may be, I mean, we are partially responsible for that because the Bolt specification effort started in Milan with the Milan Protocol Initiative when we gave our, basically my role there was just to bring pizza to Light Labs.
By far the most important job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If the
absolutely.
hackers don't have pizza, coffee, and beer,
they cannot.
They cannot get shit done.
But the result of that, we were super happy in 2016 when from our office we were seeing the magic happening of people coming out with the Milan protocol that then became Bolt. But Bolt was a natural language specification, and what we have seen with the recent bug is that basically when you have the natural language specification, some parts can be omitted, and you don't have a compiler telling you that, and you don't have a debugger, so you cannot compile the specification. So one little part was missing because it was considered obvious, and everybody relying on the specification in order to build the implementation just consider that, ignore that part. I think that tomorrow in this talk by Maxime, that will be just after mine, Maxime will try to do a very cool stuff. You take the technical layerization of Lightning, so the messaging, punishment, all the layers, and you try to chart the bolts on top of that, and the result is very ugly. Like parts are super over specified with a lot of even a little bit conflicting specification across bolts. Some parts are completely untouched, like the bolt part do not discuss those parts of the protocol at all, and many bolts are cross layer, so there is not a neat division across layers like internal layers of Lightning. So it is messy, and the good thing is that now many people, for example, another effort that is similar to Bitcoin is the Rust Bitcoin specification. The good thing is that when we move to layer 2 and layer 3 stuff, that problem that you mentioned, so lib consensus, basically the fact that you need a reference implementation that takes the role of a specification, you can ignore that. You just you strip core of most functions. You use core in C++, what it is, and then you just build all the tools on top as a standard libraries.
Yeah, fantastic. So how can we, or what are the next steps for this? Are you just gonna kind of like copy the bolts and rip them apart and make sure that they are more properly separated, or?
So since the money I'm managing to get right now is for RGB specifically, because we have Bitfinex interested in doing Tether on that. We have a Valtoro interested in doing VGold on that. We may have somebody interested in doing collectibles. So since tokens are easily monetizable stuff, we will focus on RGB and Spectrum, which is the Spectrum is basically the idea that if I create a token aware channel with you, and Mad Bitcoin creates a token aware channel with her, but you don't have a token aware liquidity, we can bridge Bitcoin liquidity. So I can give you a token Lightning transaction, which is HTLC conditioned to the fact that you give a Bitcoin transaction that is connected with another token transaction on your routing way. So the idea is that you can use Bitcoin to bridge, but then your Lightning's RGB node, which is called Spectrum, will be basically a trading bot that must have like a bid and ask spread, which is very complex. That's called Spectrum. So the idea is we will focus on these. So we will probably replace two. We are starting from C Lightning because I like LND and Eclair is very modularized. It's less monolithic, so it's easy for us to play with it. We take a few daemons, basically the gossip daemon and the channel daemon. We rewrite those from scratch in Rust in a way that is compliant with these higher layer 2 or layer 3 applications. Then we create a complete set of libraries for this specific use case. When we have that, if we are successful, maybe we can expand to other daemons, other part, but we are not redoing the board specification again. We will just collecting or writing code.
Very good. Writing code, good work.
Said by me, but I cannot. I couldn't write any code because I have mental issues. For example, I used to write code in Lisp or like concatenative language like Joy, very academic stuff that nobody uses. When I see something like a C-like syntax, my mind just fades. So I cannot write code. I can try to give money to people to write code.
Money, pizza, beer, and coffee.
Exactly. I provide money and pizza, basically.
Okay, Giacomo, fantastic work.
Thank you.
Quickly, where can people keep up to date with RGB, with LB and LNP-BP?
So there is a repo, LNP-BP repo, but it's just a few RGB stuff. If you go to the Telegram group of RGB org, you can find a lot of discussion about RGB.
Fantastic. Giacomo, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. So, switching the camera setup again. Oh, this multi-camera setup is quite something.
We've got lots of options that way.
Yes.
Come on, either way.
We are joined by Julia. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, for sure. So Vlad brought you in. What did you talk about with Vlad?
Well, this is honestly my first conference within this field. I'm just like a big fan. I do have a company like based on the Lightning Network. And we just talked about that. And he was like, hey, you know what? Do you want to come do like a quick interview or just tell us about your company? I'm like, yeah, fine. That's why I'm here. Connections. Hey.
Well, that sounds great. Tell them about your company. What do you do?
Well, so I'm a Swedish master student, and I'm studying entrepreneurship, and I'm running Scandinavian FinTech Innovations, which is my company, and I am one of the co-founders. So basically what we do is that we're creating a cloud-based payment solution aimed for the retailers to be able to accept Bitcoin as a payment method. And we can see some competitors on this market today, mainly on the United States, Canada, and then we have BitPay, all these other actors. But we really want to get into this market.
But there's lots of businesses that need to be onboarded, right? And are you mainly focusing on local businesses in your area? Yeah,
we do that kind of right now in order to just like validate all of our MVP, the back end, the front end, the user experience. It needs to be easy and convenient. And looking at Sweden in particular, we are walking towards like a cashless society. And So we need to have like some kind of competitors to the traditional banks. So,
But what's wrong with that? If you just use your government ID to pay and you're down at the store every day buying liquor and pornography, what's the problem, right?
Well, there is a few problems, but the main problem that we're focusing on to solve is the problem for the retailers. So the average swipe fees is 2.5% on each transaction. And actually last year, only the European market paid $90 billion in swipe fees. So there is a lot of money that we can make better things with.
So that's even worse than I thought. Sometimes they charge you like $1 fee or a fixed rate fee, but taking a percentage is a whole nother ballgame, right?
Yeah.
Do they think that as the credit card company, they helped build the bowling ball, or they helped, write the code? Were they instrumental in this entire process, their ability at the end for me to swipe?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I'm just so kind of frustrated. Like, we shouldn't have that. Like, all the power is at the banks today. And that's just how society looks like. But it's also like there's so many people worldwide that doesn't even have a bank card, and they can't get to these financial services that they need. So we really want to be a part of this kind of change and paradigm shift that is coming. And just be able to focus on Scandinavia right now is really like good, I think, because we are going to this cashless society. But of course, we just want to spread the awareness about this.
And about how many businesses have you onboarded, and are they usually like mom and pop businesses, or have you had any luck breaking into maybe a smaller chain or something that has a couple of stores?
So for the onboarding process, we are like right in the start of it. We do trying our MVP out now sharply just for like 2 businesses. So one is actually a really like large retail industry. I'm not sure if I should mention them in this like trying out process right now. And the other one is like a small family business. So you kind of want to see like what gives the best results and like how they perceive our service before launching into like the alpha version of it.
Yeah, and you see, right, especially for small family-owned and operated businesses, that's how I personally found the most success at onboarding them to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because they're actually the decision makers.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to Walmart or other huge corporations, you're not going to talk to the decision makers, right? It's a huge bureaucratic process.
Yes.
But if you have a small mom and pop shops, they're right there. If you tell them about the benefits, they will get it.
Yeah, exactly. And I also find it hard to, in these large like businesses, the infrastructure is really like complicated. So even if they want to be on board with it, they might not be like the first adopters. They want to wait and see how the others adopt. So I think that I agree with you. Like small businesses is really the way to go.
Now, after onboarding them, do you do anything to help Bitcoiners to shop there? Because there's been a lot of these programs where we get a bunch of merchants and we're really excited. We've got 10 new merchants, and then no one ever shops there again.
Yeah. So what we are trying to focus on is that we are building for the future here. So we are aware that especially like in the Nordics and Europe, like, I mean, we do adopt to crypto quite well, is my opinion, but there is like a gap. So well, you can't go around that really. But what we're trying to do is to try to be a support for the people who want to use crypto and just be like creating this personal and intimate contact so we can learn and spread the awareness. And that means that we are trying to create events coming up this winter actually, where we're trying to just get like, a speaker or something just to educate people on this as well.
Yeah, I really think it's important for companies to give back in this space and sponsor meetups or sponsor YouTubers or something like that, to find a way where something that you can't necessarily do in-house, like it does make sense to have that all the time. But if we had more of that, we'd be better off. A lot of the sponsorship money only goes to ICOs or altcoins that support their own altcoins. And you get left out there on your own if you're just a local Bitcoin meetup somewhere. And really, you just need beer and pizza money. It's not a couple $100 a month. I mean, we used to give out free beer and pizza at the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup, and you have to there. It's a competitive meetup market. All the startups have money. And if you're not giving away free beer and pizza, they just won't come.
And
if you're in a small town and you are giving away even just one pizza meetup and a pitcher of beer, people will come sometimes
Yeah.
just for the free pizza.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I was listening to one talk just recently, and he just said that, you know what, it all comes down to us here being heroes, like spreading the awareness, just be open-minded, be flexible, help others. And I'm really happy that my first conference is just so humble towards that, because like we are all in this together and we want to change. And I'm just feeling so grateful to be here and be a part of that.
Well, that's great, Julian. And where can people learn more about what you're doing?
Well, the best thing would probably be to just follow us on LinkedIn. That would be just Scandinavian FinTech. But a Telegram group and a Twitter account is on its way.
Got to get Twitter. Everybody's into Twitter
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
There's a whole thing. People are like, oh, I don't
noticed.
have Twitter. And it's like, well, you could just bookmark twitter.com/madbitcoins. You could read me anyway.
Yes.
Don't even need an account. It's amazing. But they're not that into it at all. So
No, yeah, for sure. Twitter is coming soon.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Julia.
you so much.
thank you, Julia. Now send in the next guest. You have to go find them for us. Somebody that seems interesting, ask them, be like, hello, are you interesting? Do you want to be interviewed? And then leave this door open. And if anyone comes by, just like send them in,
Throw them
like
in.
just push them through the door. Be like, enough of this. So
Yeah, the Bitrefill guys are coming apparently, but they didn't find the room. 'Cause there
Lola
was no
Lola said she
sign.
sent us people like Jack Ballers. I keep calling him
Zap.
Zap. I gotta meet him, so I'll be like, I just call you Zach now because I've taken your company name Zap and I've combined it with your human name Jack, and I'm never going to get that right. It's just hard written in a
Too
wrong
much.
way.
Too
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it's too confusing. I know who he is though. He's the guy that's going to beat me in chess horribly. But yeah, they also sent us like a programmer guy came straight from the stage, was looking for us. Of course, I was over there. Come on down.
Here he is.
There he is.
Hey,
Live
please
on
join
the
us.
internet. Come on down. Got a nice wide camera angle.
Yeah, hey Killian, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you, Max?
Well, fantastic. Here with 3.5 hours live stream first, now 1 hour and 15. We're going strong.
So I guess, Lo, you need a coffee or a beer? I'll be like
Always,
happy to
always
both.
in and out. We need like ideally all of our assistants and all of our people out there in the audience would be bringing us coffee and new people. But instead we're going with this, just hang the door open.
Okay.
And if anyone walks by, we just grab them.
Okay. I was
So-
one of these. All right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need like a lasso or something to
Yeah.
just whip out and
Yeah.
then just pull them in.
Because otherwise they're going to try to take the room away again.
Okay.
There seems to be a real confusion that like I just brought all this gear to look at it, not to use it, and that I'm interested in wasting my time. And they're like, "Oh, can we just like sit in front of your gear and not use it for an hour?" I'm like, "Why don't you get here early?
Mhm.
Where were you this morning? Like you're
Mhm.
not very serious about this. I clearly got the room and got here first, so they have to
Right.
deal with it."
Killian, what are you tinkering on recently?
I'm tinkering a lot of things, but mainly I'm still trying to make something called the Decentralized exchange working on top of Lightning. So obviously there's also other stuff involved, not only Bitcoin, because exchanging Bitcoin against Bitcoin is not the only thing, but it's very, very cool because now we're in a stage where it's working actually. So you can use it on mainnet right now, and you can the main use case is actually to exchange Bitcoin for stable coins, which is useful for example, a merchant which is accepting or which does not want to hold Bitcoin for whatever reasons because of volatility, and can accept Lightning payments on the front, but actually receives a stable coin in an atomic swap. That's basically it. And we try to build it in a real decentralized way so that there's no party anywhere. And yeah, it's keeping me pretty busy for 1.5 years right now already.
Well, that's how you know it's a worthwhile project.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
the name of the project?
So it has a set of names, but now I would call it OpenDex. OpenDex, the OpenDex network. It's like the Lightning Network, so we learned from the best. So the Lightning Network, honestly, it's amazing. And I sat down one evening and I thought, like, why is the Lightning Network so amazing? Why is there such a huge community, such a strong support, diverse community, so many companies working on it? And I think the answer is, one is fairly technical because it has something called bold specifications. There's an open set of specifications, and a lot of people put in a lot of work to agree on a common protocol, to agree on these specifications. And I think that's what we should be seeing much more. So OpenDex is basically exactly that, but for a decentralized exchange. So it's getting just started, but it's getting companies, different companies, exchanges, whoever is interested in building such a protocol together to agree on a protocol. And what we were building is just the first implementation that does that. This one is called XUD. XUD, standing for Exchange Union Daemon. It's just the first implementation implementing the protocol. And I hope there will be more.
Yeah.
Not only us.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And so how do you do the atomic swaps over Lightning? I presume HTLCs?
Yes, of course. So basically it's a requirement. So we cannot support anything that does not have an HTLC. So it's basically...
And what's an HTLC for people at home?
Okay, it's a hash time lock contract. And what it enables you to do is it's native to Lightning.
Okay.
So Lightning, when you're sending a Lightning payment on your phone, you're using HTLCs all the time without noticing it. And what it enables you to do is to set up a payment, basically put it into two stages. A is set up a payment, so HTLC can be set up, but actually to execute a payment, that's a second stage, because there's a so-called preimage or secret, a secret involved, which you can put into the HTLC at a later stage. So basically, I'm sending something to you, and this payment is set up, but nothing moved yet, no coins moved yet, because I still have to put in the secret into the HTLC so that it actually executes. So an atomic swap uses this concept to set up two payments and set them up in a way that they would both execute with the same secret. So I sent you Bitcoin, you sent me, worst case, USDT, Tether back, right? And our payments are both set up with HTLCs so that they execute if I release my secret. And my secret unlocks both payments at the same time, so to speak. So my Bitcoin payment to you executes, and the USDT payment back to me executes at the same time. And that's why it's atomic, because both execute based on the same secret. And that's about it. Sounds fancy, but
it sounds really cool.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
amazing.
Yeah,
Atomic swaps are really powerful. I know, Max, you know a lot about stuff. Know a lot about atomic swaps as well. It's pretty cool.
Powerful magic.
Powerful magic. Yeah.
And so, but you say it's an exchange over Lightning, right? But
Yes.
there's, or is there already a tether on Lightning, or how are you?
I wish there was. What is it called? RGB? Maybe in future native to Lightning. Maybe first with liquid assets. We don't know. That is actually pretty close, I think. But no, for now it's on Ethereum, unfortunately.
Adam Back was showing me some kind of liquid tether.
Yes, there is Tether on Liquid now, and they're pushing it pretty hard. But there is
He almost gave me some free ones, but I had to set up my wallet or something. And it was great. Like we have all these troubles. Like I'm at this point, I'm down to the point where I'm like, okay, cashier, if you want to get $10 of Bitcoin from me, you're going to write down your magic words for your green address wallet. Now you have a backup, because every dollar I gave to someone, they all lost their phone or broke their phone or forgot their password or whatever. So we have these magic words. That's going to be your $10. Plus we're going to put it in the phone. But Adam Back, the CEO of Blockstream, when forced to that, I didn't have the key, he completely gave up. He's like, no, forget it. You don't have it set up. Like, oh, you have to set this up later. Like you only set up one half of the wallet. And then we talked about the user interface possibilities of sharing the same key. But then he was worried that if you set up your Bitcoin wallet to like joke around with it, and then you set up your Tether wallet with the same key and it has a crap password because your Bitcoin wallet was a joke, then you put your life savings in your Tether wallet or whatever. And he was like, no, we can't share the keys. But still, from a user perspective, like now I have an app that generates 2 sets of 26 words that I have to write down or whatever it is. And
that's actually that's interesting.
We're not getting closer to any usable easy wallet solutions. So.
I completely agree with you. So we're facing kind of the same issues, because in order to use a DEX with multiple assets, you technically would have to write down 24 or 12 words for each and every single asset you're trading, which is pain in the ass. So what we are doing is actually we are generating one seed with a library called seedutil.
Okay.
And we actually inject the seed in all of the clients. So you only have one seed. Call it the master password, right? So you only have one seed, and actually this is the backup of your ETH and all your C20-based tokens, of your LTC, of your BTC, and whatever will be there.
Well, but isn't that the hierarchical deterministic wallet with different wallet paths?
Yeah, but on some chains there is no they don't have HD wallets, right? So you, I wish it was that easy.
If only they'd all built them from the Bitcoin specification.
Yes,
yeah,
they should have.
yeah, I
They
know.
should have.
We could have worked together on this whole thing from the beginning. Yeah, no, we tried that. It almost worked. Some of them work with you right up until the point when they stop working with you. So I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
But so let's see. Basic questions. Is it open source?
Yes, of course.
All right. So you're on GitHub or something like that.
Yes, of course.
Cool.
What's the repo
What's it
name?
get? Tell them. Yeah.
GitHub.com/Exchange Union, which is the name of the company which is sponsoring that whole fun project.
Cool.
And then you have the main repo is XUD, which is a daemon. And the name of the community is OpenDex, and the website is opendex.network. And it basically just has it's a start of the specifications and links you to Telegram and Discord. That's it. Doesn't do much.
How would you compare this to other decentralized exchanges like HODL, or used to be called BitSquare, I think. Bisq. All these things keep changing their names.
One exception is Bisq, but to all other ones, I would say we are actually decentralized because all others are not. They are non-custodial exchanges, in my opinion, but nothing more.
It's a step on the way there.
It's
and I think we're all going towards the same idea. We all want, this thing, but I think it's really complicated.
Yeah. So, but I would not call it decentralized because it's not, right? So Bisq actually is pretty cool. I love Bisq, and we're actually in contact with their team because they are actually indeed really decentralized, and I think they solved the fiat on-ramp problem in a really cool way. And then it's like local Bitcoins, but unstoppable, so that there is no central. That's how I explain it to people.
Yeah, local Bitcoins definitely got stopped.
Exactly.
It's not local anymore, and there are no Bitcoins. So.
So it's really a nice setup. And yeah, you can compare us like Bisq, but crypto to crypto.
Cool.
Not fiat to Bitcoin. That's basically what we
fiat step is a really hard one. Yeah.
So actually, imagine there would be Bisq that is fiat to crypto and then crypto to crypto as well. That would be cool.
I mean, you can trade Bitcoin for other shitcoins there as well, right?
Yes, but it's still with their that you put out an offer and then someone has to manually accept that. So it's a kind of manual process. So I see the crypto to crypto trading for fiat, again, it's amazing, right? So that's how it should work. But the crypto to crypto trading are usually more like day traders and stuff, and they're just used to enter an order and it executes automatically. It gets matched as an order book,
and that's the thing with the fiat shitcoin, right? They don't have HTLCs. So what Bisq has to do is to do the 2 of 3 multi-sig, right? escrow thing. For the game theory to work out that nobody steals.
Yes.
But when we use crypto or Bitcoin to non-fiat shitcoins that actually do have HTLCs, then we can do atomic swaps.
Exactly.
Right? And so where's the atomic swap model different from the multi-sig escrow?
You don't need an escrow. You just need 2 parties, right? So there's just no situation where you cannot get into a situation where you would need the escrow to step in.
So that's pretty big to everyone at home. So normally when we're trading goods, there's a third party in between us, like the bank or something. I give them my credit card. They go to the bank. They say, okay, he has some credit. They pay it to the business. Clearly a third party, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying with the atomic swaps, I have, let's say 10 Satoshis and I'm going to send them to you. You want 10 and you're going to give me 0.1 of a tether or something, some kind of little thing. How are we going to perfectly align it so that I can't rip you off?
That's the magic.
Because like I'm always trying to rip you off. I've always got some plan. My brother recently, Peter Todd, bought a hat off him. And we're like, don't just accept one confirmation. He's going to flip that on you. He's got pay to script hash. He's got all these things. He's going to replace by fee you. Like he's going to come get you. But no, it was fine. But
there's actually an app on the App Store. It's for it allows you to easily double spend. That's cool.
So how are we going to do it? How's the atomic swap? I got my coin up. I'm ready to go.
So just imagine it. I'm trying to search for a little bit more abstract words. So imagine. So what an atomic swap does is we are 2 people. You send me 0.1 tether. I send you a couple of sats. What it does is essentially it binds these 2 payments cryptographically together. So they're basically like one payment. So there is only 2 options. Either both payments execute fully,
right,
or none of them execute. period.
So it's kind of like the escrow is the code.
The escrow is the code, exactly. So there's this little secret that I mentioned before. So basically, this secret, once it's released, and this is by you in that case, you release the secret.
Right.
There's only the option that both payments execute. There's just no way that only one payment can execute, and this is where the atomicity comes from. So that it essentially binds them together
So
like as
it
one.
ties them both together. They're
Yes.
both using the same secret or the same password.
Yes.
They're waiting out there for that secret. If they get it, executes.
Execute.
Both goes to me and you, same exact time, same number. I've heard it, if we were like trading $1 for $1 in Litecoin or whatever, it would figure out like 99 cents, 101, $1, and it would wait for that middle point. Then it would execute when they're equal. Will it do that?
We agree on the rate before.
We agree
So
beforehand.
This,
Okay.
this is something we are solving with our
Right.
system, that we have like an order exchange where that helps us to agree on this rate.
Yeah.
Right? So, or we just do it in person. We can do that. So,
So we agree 10 Satoshis, 0.1 tether.
Exactly.
Then it
set up the
ties them
payments.
both together. Now,
Yes.
at this point, it's kind of out of our hands. If I wanted to cancel or what,
You can cancel.
I can cancel.
But then both cancel.
Both cancel. And if I confirm, both confirm.
confirm. And that's
And
the two
there's and it's
options.
like cryptographically, it's all tied together. It's the same secret, so it's being sent at the same time, kind of thing. It's
Yes.
forking in two directions. Like
Yes.
the signal's being sent. Like I can't stop one of the signals. They're both going through.
Yeah.
And then it executes.
Yes.
And then we both get the thing we want without using a middleman or a trusted
Without
third
using
party.
an escrow, exactly. And that's the different to the multisig, which is still an amazing method.
For sure.
But yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm super excited.
And when's it
about
going to be released?
Huh?
Is it ready now? Is it ready now? Is it ready?
It's on mainnet. Yes.
Oh, mainnet's
But
good.
there's always a but.
Ah.
It's complicated.
Uh-huh.
So to set it up, you need technical knowledge. You need to run full nodes, and it's not like for the, go to the app store. And
Well,
download
we
this
just
app.
talked to some guys from, they left their name, Urbit, and they're working on, sounds like a plugin system for like full nodes. And they want to do all these little like encrypted chat and stuff like that. And it's supposed to run on the Naudil, who gave me a hoodie,
Mhm.
or the Samurai Naudil, or maybe the Casa, these
Mhm.
node things that are becoming more like node platforms where you can run BTC Pay server. You can run the Samurai privacy package with all the mixing tools and things.
Mhm.
Maybe you could get that as a
Or
package. just-
Wasabi.
Wasabi, of course.
Mhm.
Max is here. We can't mention Samurai without his name. But no. So I mean, maybe you could get it to load on one of those things as like a plugin, and then you they sounded like it was really easy. Just like selecting a package from a Linux distro or something. You just add the thing, and then boom, it's on your node. And then now this would be one of the features on your node.
Okay, cool. I'll look into it.
So,
Actually,
yeah.
thanks. I didn't know.
Check it
about
out. Yeah, they've got Bitcoin sign
that.
guy.
Urbit. Mhm.
Seems super cool, and they had a tech guy with them, and they were hanging out. And check out the live stream from this morning right here on the World Crypto Network. You guys can go rewind back and check that out. Maybe
Time
Jeremy
traveling.
will timestamp it for us. He's the timestamping man, Jeremy out there. So
Will do.
Max thought it was cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
No.
It's kind of like a good architecture to host your own server, right? To have your magical box sitting in your basement somewhere, does all the computing for you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Your mobile device is just a way to connect to your own server.
And I mean, it's not
I like
everybody.
that idea.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
not
that
everybody
idea.
that wants it, but like our
No.
people, the computer geek people, the Bitcoin people, the encryption people, this is really like starting to get there where, they were talking small with like micro blogging, Twitter, chatting, encryption, things that used to work great on Pigeon. But eventually email, other services like this, everyone needs a server in their house. And I know the Naudil guys are convincing me that I need a server to do my Bitcoin transactions or whatever. And then I might need a server to do the mixing things of Wasabi and Samurai. And that's cool. I want to do that stuff. And then also you run a node to support the network. So that's easy. Just plug it in. And it costs us cool too. And all these ideas and then everybody upstairs seems to have a full node. So that's very cool.
Like
And the
hundreds of full nodes
Raspberry
on the
Blitz
second floor.
software that they're working on is supposed to make it easy to turn a Raspberry Pi into a full node. And I think the next step is adding these other services to it. Like the full node's good, but not everyone needs that. But if you had that, plus you had the mixing, plus you had this atomic swap, instant exchange, decentralized exchange thing, plus the chat thing and the email thing, and then pretty soon you're running and hosting all your own services on this little box. I mean, it sounds like a good idea.
I love the idea, and actually, like when it clicked on me, really was when I saw a picture of some, I don't know him, like some guy tweeting a photo of the internet router box at home, and just right next to it mounted a Raspberry Pi, and he had like almost all of these services somehow. He made it fit. And it wasn't not even a Raspberry 4. It was a kind of weak, but he made a lot of these services actually running on that. So people at the moment, they are not used to it. They're mentally not prepared to run their own financial services, but I think they will be. And once they discover the advantages and the sovereignty it gives you when you run your own little box, it just has to be easy enough, like the internet box, right?
Yeah. Just plug and play.
Well, and then no matter from there, it goes to music and photos and your own Facebook and your own all those things where we never needed these internet companies anyway. They just needed the centralized data for advertising.
Yes.
And if we decentralize the data, all the services, I can share photos in encrypted packets and no one needs to know what my photos are. It's only Facebook that wants to scan them for pictures of my friends and scan them for brand names and scan them for, oh, is he outside? Is he here? Where is he? Check the metadata. Oh, he went here. Maybe we should tell him that thing. It's this advertising compulsion that has led us down this wrong path. And I know all the Unix geeks and all the Linux geeks have all been screaming the whole time, like open source, like where are you going? How can you give up your data? And everyone says the same thing. It's that old Star Wars thing that the dark path is easier, you know, with quick and easy path. And it's like no one wants to be a Buddhist and meditate and take their time. But in the end, the Yodas, the Buddhists, the Jedis, they keep winning. Even if they get wiped out, one of them comes back with the same ideas, and the ideas keep winning.
Bitcoin fixes this.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, at least working on it.
Yeah. We should see more of this. Bitcoin fixes this. Yeah.
Well, very cool. And where can people learn more? I think, do we tell them, or make sure you have the Twitter and the webpage?
Just go to opendex.network, and actually everything is linked there. I forgot the Twitter handle, so just see it there.
It's on there. It's all on Twitter.
It exists since a week, 1.5. So yeah, it's pretty young.
Just
started it.
Good. Yeah, Twitter's a good place to show this.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All
Fantastic. Right. Thank you, Killian, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I actually have to catch up with the guys.
Here's a sticker.
I'm already late.
And now you have to bring us someone else.
So it's my task now.
Yes, that's your task. You cannot leave.
Lasso.
And you have to lasso. We'll leave the door open. They'll look right in. They'll be like, oh, there's microphones and TV. I like that. And they'll come in.
Okay, I'll get you someone interesting. Give me a minute.
Yeah. No pressure.
All right.
Don't forget your phone.
Okay, bye-bye, guys.
We're going to hack that while you're gone.
Or leave your phone. If they're
leave your phone, and your private keys will be taken as a donation. So.
You see. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
I know that we're getting there. More and more awesome, tech infrastructure being built out. It's going to be fun.
There's so many people here at the conference. It's really big. Although I do want to upgrade my badge. You got some cool band thing. I got a string.
Dude, they got completely wrecked.
They're sold out. Yeah.
No. So there was an issue with these bands. Like they were printed on the wrong side, or like halfway only.
Yeah.
So they couldn't use the first bands, and then they had to order new ones.
Tragic.
And left, right, your choice. Yep. They're streaming like huge camera angles.
Yeah. All right, bring them both in.
Sergey's next. No, come on, Sergey.
If you guys both want to come, we have microphones for everybody.
Please join Sergey.
It's a big couch. Come on the other side. We got another microphone there.
Yep.
Let's make sure you turn it on there.
So,
good. On is good.
We are joined by Sergey Kotlar, CEO of Bitrefill, the best company to support you for becoming a Bitcoin-only full economy sovereign individual. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, awesome. And you're joined by Roy
Scheinfeld. I'm this co-founder and CEO of Breeze.
Oh, fantastic. Breeze wallet. That's like my new onboarding wallet.
Excellent.
Good work what you're doing here.
Thank you so much, Max.
Fantastic. So, like where to start with two amazing guests. What's new with Bitrefill? What are you tinkering on?
Well, I mean, we're working hard. Like, and there's always work on new countries. There's going to be some announcements coming out in the next week about 2 quite big countries we've added for gift cards in Bitrefill. So that kind of stuff's constantly happening, and we're not going to stop until we cover all of the 200 or whatever countries in the FIFA list of countries. And other than that, I mean, we're working on the Lightning stuff. We've most lately, so we have this stack of utilities for people using Lightning called Thor, and we're now like we've released everything as APIs. We're now like experimenting to see like how useful are these APIs for exchanges, for wallets, for enabling transactions to happen where there is not enough channels, right? In different way, patching the holes that are there.
So just quickly for the audience, what are the basic ways to use Bitrefill? Because I know when it started, it was a way to retop your cell phone, right, to get cell phone minutes. You could trade Bitcoin for it, but I think it's become a lot more since then. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, right. So the original feature was buying the top-ups for the phones, and there's like 5 billion people in the world that have a prepaid phone. It's most spread technology that we have. There's more people with a prepaid phone than with a toothbrush globally. And then gradually we started adding different types of other digital goods. So mainly gift cards, so on and so forth, for our more Western Bitcoiners that maybe don't even have a prepaid phone. And we now let them buy anything they want. So you go on Bitrefill, and if you want to travel, we have special gift cards for that. Or if you want to e-commerce, we have Amazon and things.
And do you get discounts for the gift cards, or are they just gift cards you can buy with Bitcoin or Lightning?
It's mainly gift cards so that you can buy with Bitcoin or Lightning. It's still more convenient and cheaper or same price as using an exchange and so on. So we don't mega work with discounts. We've done it a couple of times, but
it's a fishy market out there. I don't know where the discounts come from, but there's a lot of them going around.
There's discounts in the peer-to-peer sort of secondhand gift card markets, right? And so then there is the question of like, who are the people that are selling gift cards at a big discount? You can, many of them are legit. What do you call it? I'm sure they find people. No, but we only work with companies, and we sell legit authentic gift cards. So
I think it would be a lot easier just to pay full price and avoid the hassle of having it canceled or getting the angry phone call or whatever it is. I've done some of that stuff. But and then Roy, what do you guys do?
We do a lot of people call Breeze a wallet. I don't like calling Breeze a wallet. I think I think in Lightning in general, unlike on-chain, it's a payment service. We're building a payment service. So we're trying to build a payment service which is non-custodial, based on Lightning Network, with a great user experience that appeal to the mainstream audience.
So a payment service, would that be recurring fees? Like if I subscribe to Netflix at like $10 a month,
that's the ultimate goal. And if you saw Rusty Russell's presentation today, it's coming in the protocol. So we want to create a user experience that is on par with fiat. So basically everything that you can do in fiat, you can do better with Lightning.
So if I locked up like $120 for my year of $10 a month Netflix, you guys could maybe send it out 10 at a time.
You don't need to lock any funds. Eventually you'll be able to use Lightning at the same level that you use fiat. Meaning you'll spend the $10 when you need to spend this $10.
Nice.
Without locking anything.
So it's going to have control or access to the wallet, some kind of access
the wallet.
Control.
I think Rusty said it clearly today. The wallet's going to be your agent.
Excellent. Because I know with Bitcoin, it's been one of the good features. No one can take money from the wallet. But when I want to subscribe to something, when I want to support something regularly, it's a bad feature.
Definitely. But before recurring payments and subscription and stuff like that, we need to fix the user experience in the very basic level. And we're still not there yet. And so Breeze is on creating like the Venmo-like experience for exchanging funds via Lightning, and for providing point of sale, a non-custodial point of sale, merchants, a non-custodial point of sale solution that will create this peer-to-peer Lightning economy.
All right. And is it on Android, iOS, or both?
Both.
Oh, both is the best. It's
Yeah.
very difficult though.
So one thing that I love about Breeze is that you instantly, so when the user downloads the wallet, right, it instantly opens a channel. You open the
Correct.
channel to the user with, of course, all the capacity on your side of the channel, since, well, it's your money.
Yeah.
But this allows any user to instantly, basically, receive payments on Lightning.
Yeah. So this is our way, our intermediate way to solve this inbound capacity issue. But as we saw with, for example, I'm trying, and I know Sergey is trying as well to push this concept of Lightning service provider. So a Lightning service provider, exactly like the internet service provider, is the entity that connects you to the Lightning network and just enables the user to work seamlessly on top of the Lightning network. That's the idea. Not every, and Breeze is like a proof of concept for this Lightning service provider. Bitrefill, Tor, and Turbo channels is another example of a Lightning service provider. Jack from Zap, the Olympus service, is another example of Lightning service provider. What the Aston guys are doing with the Phoenix solution, creating channels, they also provide you with inbound liquidity once you onboard. It's another example of a Lightning service provider. So there are different flavors of Lightning service provider, and our ultimate goal in Breeze is to support all the different flavors.
Fantastic, right? That's another thing with an internet service provider. You're stuck to one. With a Lightning service
You
provider,
don't have to be bounded to one internet service. Decentralization is basically, we need to keep the Bitcoin values in Lightning Network. So we need to be very careful in creating centralization. We need freedom of choice, and the next step in the Breeze evolution is to open up the platform to multiple service providers, that you'll be able to choose multiple service providers, but we need AMP support for that. So
yeah, that is very true. And so one thing that I was always wondering is that you open a channel to a new user, right? And of course you carry the cost with this. Of course, there's the on-chain transaction cost and also your capital allocation cost, right? And on the other hand, you don't know who that user is. You don't know if he's just going to check out that app and abandon it again. And that might, of course, mean that you open a channel to a user who does not really use it. On the contrary, you with Bitrefill, you only open the channel if the user requests it and if he pays up front with it. So what do you guys think about these two different approaches?
we have a lot of discussions about it.
We've had this exact discussion.
Yeah.
I think it's good that there are different views and that people are trying different things, and we all want the same outcome. And there's different approaches. It's the same as with the discounts and whatnot. Companies have different approaches.
Well, and I think it's a big open ocean out there. It's really easy to get.
I think the market will decide eventually.
Yeah, we're fighting over the same 10 customers, but really, I think there's 10 more customers over there and 10 more over there.
And,
there's just
and
so
remember,
many
we're not
more.
building it for this. It's amazing turnout in this conference, but we're not building our solution for these 500 guys, right?
Yeah,
we want mainstream adoption. We want to onboard millions and tens of millions of
different
users.
Companies, different kinds of ads,
different business models. For me, it's different business models.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I'm coming from a
absolutely.
freemium. The reason I created this notion of a freemium channel is because I'm coming from a freemium SaaS mindset.
Mhm.
So for me, it's just a way to onboard and then upsell or monetize.
Exactly. And we need every different kind of expertise in this. I mean, I'm computer geek. I'm good at speaking to computer geeks, but I always tell people, I'm like, we need women, we need people from the inner city, people from outer city, from the country, from the wherever, different countries all over the world, all need to get up and start talking about Bitcoin on their own, tell their friends and family, because they're not going to listen to me. I mean, I can only get the people I can get, you got
But what I like in the ecosystem, just to elaborate on what you said, is that everyone comes from his own perception, right?
Yeah.
So Sergey is providing premium model. The Jack is very focused on fiat to Lightning onboarding. And the Phoenix guys, the Asing guys are very focused on onboarding via friends. So everyone comes with his own approach. And what we want to do, we want to take the best out of these different ideas, different notions, and to streamline everything in a single application. And basically that's where Breeze is headed.
Yeah.
And that is like, it is happening, like this cross-pollination of ideas and so on. It is happening, like, we had the discussion of like who came up with the Lightning service provider word and so on, and like or just like the idea with the turbo channels. Like you know, at first it was like a crazy idea by this guy Martin at Kixenil. And then we picked it up with a Bitcoin Lightning wallet, and it was still seen as a crazy idea, and so on. And now suddenly it's like one of the Lightning implementation companies are releasing a special wallet that's using that technology to enable, you know, instant transactions. Now, like they're not using the exact same, but it's conceptually it's the same, right? And so on. But they're adding like a whole bunch of other things and so on. And you know, it's probably not a crazy bet to imagine that Breeze Wallet is going to add some of those things in the not too distant future and so on. And so like it's I think the cross pollination of ideas is happening in a really good way already. Like, and it's happening. I saw Alex Bosworth brought up like, should it happen in Bolt conversations or should it be experimentation? I think we in this group are more in the team experimentation and just like just do stuff, and some stuff it's like it will be a little bit messy, but everything is messy anyway. And in the end, some standards will crystallize out. And
especially at first, right? We have to experiment a bit.
Right.
Exactly. That's why, you know, everyone looked at me funny when I started opening channel free for users. But now you see other companies are doing that as well. You have
I will always look at you funny.
I don't know. I saw a little bit. I hardly ever catch presentations, but I saw a little bit of Jack Mahler's, and he was talking about how he was something like he was shorting the fee market. He was longing the fee market. Hedging his bets depending on his business. He has this thing where he was like, you know, a corn farmer, they go out and they buy shorts on the corn just in case the crops go bad because they're longing it when they're growing corn. They're hoping it's going to work out. And he had a really solid model that maybe if you set up the right derivatives, I'm not going to do it for you. I have no idea what he's talking about, but somehow you would end up covering and you would make money when you lose money and lose money when you make money and you come out even.
The way is the ultimate goal is to build real businesses. We want to make money out of Lightning. You know, money is not a dirty word. We want to create the Lightning economy. We want to monetize it. It's not, you know,
well, if the fees go up, you got to make money. If the fees go down, you got to make money. You have to have a plan for both. And a lot of these Bitcoin plans were like Bitcoin goes up. And, you know, I know a big mining firm where if it didn't go up, they would have went down. But as it turned out, the thing went up. They all made tons of money. It worked great. If it'd gone the other way, it would have been a big crater, a big mess everywhere, and everyone would be on fire. But they're risk takers. They took that risk.
So, you know, what are your steps after the user has opened, after you open the channel to the user? What if the user just doesn't use the channel? Do you close it at some point?
Yeah, definitely.
And what is the criteria for this?
So we measure activity. And we have, actually, we're experimenting as well in that regard. We used to have a very basic algorithm that after 30 days of inactivity, we close the channel. But now we gather some statistics out of our node and we actually measured it. And we saw that if the user passes 10 days of inactivity, there's 0.5% that he will use the application again. So we actually reduced the time frame from 30 days to 10 days, and we'll optimize. You know, we're trying to onboard as many users as possible with the liquidity that we have currently. So we're doing this kind of tweaks. But the ultimate goal is to become an LSP platform where we'll be able to use the Thor services, we'll be able to use the Fiat on-ramp services, we'll be able to use turbo channels in order to onboard as many users as possible, and everyone will choose its own business model.
Fantastic. And so for your channels, right, the user pays up front. So you kind of made your money already, regardless what the user does with this channel. Do you still close the channel after some inactivity?
Yeah, sure, we do. I mean, we also like, we're very like eager for the subscription stuff, specifically to have it like natively inside of the Lightning protocol so people can pay for their channels ongoing. Because then there is no issue, right? You can just pay every once in a while, and if you stop paying, then the service goes away. This is like common and understood. Whereas right now it's like, I mean, the Thor stuff is still like super experimental, right? So the guarantee that we give you when you get a Thor channel is that you get it, we keep it open for you for a month. Right, and then sometimes we'll keep it open a little bit longer. Depends on how it's used and obviously like on which side the funds are and so on. Like if you haven't used it that much at the end of the month, then we might close it, get a new one. On the other hand, if there's a lot of usage, then we might let it slide. But eventually, obviously, we want to move to a more clean subscription type model where the cost of the user is paid off across a longer period of time, and so on. But like more lately, we're also similar to what Roy was describing. We're also like experimenting with that. It's not, and this is why we're like pushing Thor more as an API now than we're pushing it as a consumer service. That like it's not a law of nature that the one paying for the channel should be the user, right? It could be someone else. So in Breeze, for example, they paid for it for a while. Now they're looking for somebody else to pay for it, and we let the user pay for it for a while. But we're also kind of thinking that maybe somebody else should pay for it. Maybe and currently, I mean, if you look at the industry, the ones that are making money are the ones that are selling bitcoins for fiat, and it's not entirely unthinkable that whoever is selling the coins for the fiat, and there is a very clear markup in there, a couple of percent and this and that. So it's not hard to motivate that whoever sold you the fiat will also pay for the cost of the channel, right? But the benefit of doing it with Thor instead of building it yourself is that you don't have to sort of worry about it. You get somebody who can then specialize in the whole upkeep and monitoring of channels and all of that. Like, and whether or not that will be a great business, that depends to be seen. But it's fun.
We're already
and interesting.
starting seeing exchanges implementing Lightning services.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Step by step.
and yeah, there's some things that
It's not far-fetched. That's what I'm saying.
it's very not far-fetched, and it's a year from now. I think we're gonna have a very different world with Lightning everywhere.
Do you remember the like 50,000 blocks ago? How crazy, like how little we were back then and what we are now. The next
Right.
50,000 blocks, insane.
I mean, there's one development right now, which is Electrum, that are adding Lightning, and I think it's also a little bit underestimated because Electrum is it's the second biggest wallet on Bitrefill, so clearly they have a whole bunch of users, and now suddenly, for the first time, a bunch of people are just going to get upgraded to Lightning when their wallet upgrades, right? And so it's the first time, like up until now, all the Lightning wallets have come from the outside. And trying entirely new things. Whereas now we see for like first attempt of pre-existing Bitcoin wallet adds Lightning.
A very popular wallet.
Hmm?
And a very popular one as well.
Very popular
The
one.
most popular.
And I have it running on my computer. I've tested it. I've opened channels. Thor works with it. Bought something from Bitrefill with it. I know that it's gonna work when they release it. And it's like it's Electrum and it's Lightning. It follows the values of both projects very well, and so now finally we can go and say to all the other wallets as well that there's like no reason to, like now you have no excuses. If Electrum can do it, and so can the others.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about crossing the chasm, right?
Yeah.
We're at the Lightning enthusiastic phase. We need to appeal more to the traditional Bitcoin audience, then go through the crypto guys, and then eventually mass adoption.
Well, it's unpopular, but I still would like to see Coinbase and BitPay add SegWit, add Lightning, all these kind of things. I know they're on the outside and they got seduced by the shit coins and they keep adding more and more shit coins and they keep losing more and more money. They have this business model problem over at Coinbase. They can't seem to think of anything new. They only follow what the previous business model was. So a couple of years ago, they were really jealous of Crypsy. Crypsy had like 100 altcoins and they were just killing it on the fees. And then Poloniex and Binance and all these other things had 100 alt fees and just killing on the fees. And Coinbase is like all Bitcoin only. And they're like, oh, we should follow that. We should follow that. And by the time they get set up and they follow it, the money's not there anymore. And then they do Coinbase Pro and they're going to trade and exchange. And then the money's not there anymore. And it's just, they keep following this money and they just keep not finding it. And I thought they had it in the beginning, being Coinbase and being a Bitcoin company. And maybe if they added Lightning support, maybe if they added SegWit, maybe if they,
Transaction batching.
Transaction batching. I know, again, we have this open source tool that we built years ago. It's called ProTip, and it's still available at protip.is. You can get the code, and it actually does subscriptions, like you're saying. It just has code that does a
Locks the
subscription.
fund
Yeah,
up
it just pays it every month. You want to pay $10 a month, it'll just send it, and it'll scan the web pages you visit, and it'll split up your $10 into $1 for each
I'm
web
familiar with it.
blogger.
It's a great service.
And and it's all right there. It's like, we raised 15 grand and we gave it all to the developer and the community guy, and Coinbase is raising billions of dollars, and they have a whole floor in the FIDI district of San Francisco, and they can't adopt Lightning, and they can't adopt and they can't batch their transaction. We had transaction batchings on ProTip years ago because it just made sense, and that was before the whole fee thing. So it is out there. I still believe in you, Coinbase and BitPay, even while we had the BitPay server guys.
I don't either.
BTC Pay server guys replacing all your software, and everybody else is building decentralized exchanges. And it's just all my talk early on that Coinbase and BitPay are these beautiful bridges that we're going to walk over. And as soon as we walk over them, we're going to throw napalm on them, and we're going to burn them. Like Cortez burned his ships when he got to the New World. And what we need is towers that can look far into the distance, not these stupid bridges.
Maybe Coinbase, but fuck BitPay, to be honest.
For sure.
Well, all fine. Either way, I'm just saying, in general, let's adopt that Lightning. Let's adopt this SegWit. Let's get these batching, the technology. You have all the marketing, you have all the money.
Yeah, but you need also to keep in mind that Lightning is very experimental. It's not ready yet.
Yeah.
And I think we need to curb a little bit the enthusiasm. And it will take time to build a solid, robust infrastructure that is ready for the masses. It will take some time. So we need to do it right.
I think, from my perspective, I'm not looking for the masses right now, but I'm looking for, okay, so there is some 600,000 payments on Bitcoin every day. I want just them to migrate to Lightning. We start there, right? We sure the big masses, there's going to be some other UX challenges that we're going to have to solve. But I think people are forgetting, how all of Bitcoin is built around things that barely work, right? I mean, every time you use anything that's there is a chance that it doesn't work, or sometimes you have to do some workarounds of this and that, but this is how it evolves. This is because it is an open source protocol that nobody controls, and this and that, right? And so, for me, I think that Lightning is definitely not finished, but it's definitely good enough to start converting, the current users, the current usage of Bitcoin, the exchange traffic, the people that are earning coins in different services, and people buying stuff and so on. All of this stuff should just migrate to Lightning ASAP. And as it does, it will create pressure to iron out the kinks, because that's how I think that's, otherwise it's very dangerous. I like to build products based on complaints, right? So you build something, if people complain, then it's, you open a bottle of champagne because that they care. Yeah. If they don't care, they're not going to complain. No, you have some champagne and then you fix the problem, right? And then you also know, but then when somebody complains, you also know exactly what the problem is, and you know which problem you should fix, because usually you have infinite problems.
Yeah, but there are stuff that we need to take care of, and the user, by definition, doesn't care. For example, one of the things that we're doing is we're building a non-custodial service. If you give a user, a regular end user, a custodial server, he wouldn't care. So
yeah, they don't really know the value of decentralization. We were talking to someone earlier today, and they're like, yeah, if you explain the technology to them, they have no idea what you're talking about. But if you start with the philosophy about why we need to be decentralized, and what if they took out one of the servers, or what if they took out
but again,
all the
they don't care. You're
servers,
not going to educate every user.
Yeah, we are. One at a time, right here on YouTube.
But that's an interesting question.
The service just needs to work, and it needs to work seamlessly. That's the goal.
I'll let you
and
fix
everything.
That one.
Yeah.
I think that we're gonna see. It's a little bit like I discussed with somebody who said that I stopped giving Bitcoins away to people because they don't value it and they just lose it, right? And it's a little bit similar way with this non-custodial and custodial thing, is that people don't if you just give people a non-custodial wallet, they don't really they don't really value it until they need to value it, right? Until there is, the censorship or all of these different things, people don't value it. But when these things show up, then it's kind of okay. We'll force the people to the other things, and I don't know. I think it's okay to build things with, like, for example, I think like all of the different corporate coins that seem to be brewing right now, I think it will be a net good for us. It will definitely draw a lot of attention towards that, but on the same time, it will like, if it's inevitable, I think that type of thing will happen, and they will definitely, like, if Facebook and Amazon and whoever start building out the circular economy, we're going to have a very nice, very circular economy very fast, right? And as the pressures start coming from the regulators and whatnot, the ones that cause us to do the decentralization things, as the pressures get applied, and suddenly Bitcoin will be will rise as the option that is the more freedomful coin than the others.
Well, I have a different take on that completely. I think if it's gonna happen only in Bitcoin, because then regulators, they have no incentive of enabling corporate coins or anything like that. So if it's gonna happen because of the Bitcoin core values of censorship resistance, open, borderless, transparent.
Well, I kind of agree with both of you in the sense that only those individuals that really need to fix a problem that they have by being censored or by just being mistreated will use tools of self-defense like Bitcoin in order to solve these problems, right? And then it doesn't matter what regulators say, it's censorship resistant, right? We're just going to use the code and use it to defend ourselves. And then on the other hand, what you say about the circular economy is what I personally experience very much so. Because, right, I earn Bitcoin, I hold Bitcoin, and I spend Bitcoin. Like for me, I don't even have a bank account anymore. I really don't need it because of services like Bitrefill, making it extremely easy to buy pretty much anything that I need in cyberspace with Bitcoin.
And we need to start paying salaries in Bitcoin. That's what triggers the entire cycle, right?
That is it. That is absolutely it. Exactly. So
you pay salaries in Bitcoin?
Yes, we pay certain types of salaries in Bitcoin. Not to the Swedish employees, but for people who invoice, they can invoice us in Bitcoin. Any expense reports that somebody has, like from a trip like this, you can get it paid back in Bitcoin if you work with Bitrefill, and so
excellent.
We're definitely like trying to, if
there's no question about why I should spend my Bitcoin if you earn your money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is always what so many people say. Like, oh, you spend your Bitcoin, all the coffee from 2 years ago is so expensive. Like, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. Because if you say, oh, the money went up so much, then why didn't you save more? Why didn't you sell more of your fiat backs to stack more sats? Because then you would be happy about the price going up, right?
It's a super relevant meme because almost nobody invested all of their money into Bitcoin in 2011.
Which you should have.
There is one guy who did, and that's Rick Falkvinge. That's a very separate conversation we can have. But most of us didn't invest all of our money into Bitcoin, right? And sometimes we buy stuff with it. I've been going around buying stuff all the time for the company and whatnot. Picking up tabs when we can and so on.
It's not that different from just spending money, but like you're saying,
it's money.
Yeah,
it's the
money.
same.
I mean, it's kind of the same, and
not kind of the same.
If you look, there's that pain. You look back and you're like, oh, I got that sticker on my car. It's worth 0.1, and my car's not even worth 0.1 anymore. So that's not good. And then, but going back just a little bit earlier, you guys were talking about everything, and a friend of mine, she had some very early Bitcoins that were given to her, and I'm sure it was a lot. And she, of course, just kept them in the centralized exchange of somebody's website or whatever. And then she was hacked and they were taken from her. And she said, I only understood after I was hacked and they took them from me that I had something of value.
Exactly.
And I think that's a big core thing where, like, even a 0.1, my stupid car sticker, eventually has value. And if you learned how to keep it and how to secure it yourself and how to put it in a safe wallet or, keep it here and have the private keys, have a backup, like, you can really own that, but you only learn that probably through this disaster of losing it all.
And I feel like Lightning gives us a second chance of doing things right. Because it's fresh, it's new, it's the right moment to get into the game and start contributing in building the right infrastructure.
Well, I saw already they were talking to me about, oh, we lost their card already. What was the tipping app?
Oh, bottle pay.
Bottle pay. And it sounds really cool. And of course, I've been through tipping app wars before on Bitcoin, and they were representing themselves as real Bitcoin, but they were using a centralized database and all these things. But it sounds like the bottle pay has a little bit better. They're putting kind of the Lightning in an envelope, and then they send it, and then in 7 days it expires and it comes right back to you. And it's in the code. It's not in their like centralized thing. It's like a code thing, and like that's so we're getting a little better at it, and it's a little more representative of what it actually is rather than saying it's Bitcoin. It's more, we're using a centralized, we're custodial. It's okay. We don't want to be, we are. And that's getting better. It's the same kind of thing, but it's a little better.
And then we're talking with BottlePay to have smooth integration between non-custodial wallets and their servers. So
yeah, and I like that. They were talking a little bit about that. You could have it, keep it in an external wallet or have it automatically sent off or something like that. Because it's not that I don't trust them. It's that I don't trust anyone. So they're in that group.
And you want the freedom of choice to do with your money whatever you want to do with your money.
I want to be able to recommend it and be like, oh, well, normal users can use it in less than $10. That's fine. But let's say you're really killing it on the tips and you got $100 in there. You have to treat it differently than it's $10. And if they have advanced options and you can get in there and you can add a wallet and you can link it up or whatever. And, I don't think they're after your money. I just think it's through security problems or a mistake or something, your money gets exposed. It's in a big pile of money, so it's a bigger target. Whereas, my $10 nobody wants, but put it in a pile with everybody else's $10, and it's like that's target.
It's also a question of how do you perceive the end game. Looking at the bigger picture, I think 90% of transactions can occur off chain. So if 90% of transactions occur off chain, you need to build the right infrastructure for peer-to-peer transactions.
Yep. Yeah.
So some will be custodial, but we also need to build a non-custodial infrastructure as well.
And I also think it's usually makes sense to build the custodial first. I hung out with some Zcash people lately, and they're all like, Bitcoin's built wrong. It should have been private first and all these things. It gives me a headache to even think about how Bitcoin works if I was like Satoshi. But then to think about how you're going to build a private Bitcoin first, and you can't test anything because it's all private. It's like the public network, as much as it's been exploited by chain analysis and some other companies and that whole thing, it's public because it's a test and it's on purpose and you can see what happens, and it makes it a lot easier to debug, I imagine. And if we had it private first, it would just be a nightmare the first time. So yeah, steps, baby steps, right?
I mean, all these things like the non-custodial stuff shields the custodial stuff. Yeah, because had you not have non-custodial, the custodial would have been shut down immediately. In a similar way, how Bitcoin shields a lot of altcoins, right? So that it is a thing that more decentralized things work as a shield. Like probably like the reason why Ethereum could do a lot of the things that they do is because Bitcoin exists, right? Yep. And so because the regulators powers that be, they've seen. They saw what happened like when they went after Kazaa and they created BitTorrent, right? And they saw that it got worse from applying that pressure, right? So now we have a situation where the existence of more decentralized services protects in a way and the somewhat less decentralized services. Because what's the point? What's the point? Okay, so you have this custodial element, for example, if government say that, okay, Blue Wallet is custodial, okay, say the government comes and cracks down upon them. If the government cracks down on Blue Wallet, what is that going to do? Well, all of those users are going to Google for Blue Wallet replacement, right? And they're going to find the Breeze wallet, right. And then status quo. Like the government's control over things became less through cutting off, cutting off those things. And so, so for me, I see value in both of those things, and if there's an option of making it more decentralized, I mean, of course, we have the obligation to make it more decentralized.
Don't forget, there's also business value in being more decentralized. I think it's going to cut cost.
Right. But I also I still want to give a shout out for things that are useful, right? And I think that there is also value in building things that are useful.
And tipping and bottle pay are a great example of
right,
that.
For example, yeah, and if God forbid they run into trouble, well, then we're going to have a more decentralized bottle pay the next week. I
Exactly.
mean, you see the BTC Pay server, which is here. I see one of their business cards. Like, how did that project occur? Like, okay, well, gradually, you know, BitPay was forced to do certain things and this and that they probably didn't have to want to do. And the counter reaction is that there is another app that's even like achieves a lot of the same benefits, but better encourages the circular economy, right? Because there's no built-in way of selling your coins on the BTC Pay server.
So Breeze Wallet is Bitcoin only?
Yeah.
Will you ever add shitcoins?
What do you think?
No, of course.
That's a stupid question.
Yeah. So Bitrefill was Bitcoin only for a long time. Then you added shitcoins. When will you remove the shitcoins?
When people stop using them meaningfully, I would say. Yeah, I think that for the time being, I mean, people are strongly allied with their coins. It's like a tribal type thing, and in our tribe, people want our coin and want the destruction of all other coins. But I think that I think for one thing, if we had a scenario where suddenly like a spike of fees, and I don't think we're gonna ever we will, but like not for any time soon, have a long-term such scenario. But even in short-term scenarios, like say when, for example, there was a couple of weeks ago when I think Binance got hacked, and then suddenly a bunch of transactions happened on the network, because hackers usually don't care about optimizing their transactions fees, right? So there was a big backlog for a couple of days. In scenarios like that, like, yeah, sure, we have Lightning, and that's good, but it's also actually quite good that we have Litecoin as well. Yeah, that some people in some cases can pass the transactions through. And we sort of we support a couple of coins that have traction, and we use it based on like we added them based on their objective traction numbers. We keep them based on our numbers. So like, so long as people are using Dogecoin, we're gonna have Dogecoin, and when they stop, we're gonna take it away.
So what's your take if you're supporting popular coins? Basically, why don't you support fiat like the Fall guys?
Well, it's not unthinkable that we would. It's just a matter of priorities. Fold are, from what I understand, very US centric, right? And so if you're gonna
It's a regulation.
if you're gonna accept fiat, it's like you have to go different solutions for different countries and this and that, and so like it's not unthinkable that we would at some point or some way. Just a matter of priorities, I think.
Because if you add that and you have the turbo channels, then we have fiat to Lightning on ramp basically.
Yeah, and that would be quite useful. So it's not, and it's like it's not unthinkable that we would, but it's like it's a line of business that we're not too familiar with. There's like, it's funny, like when
you need domain expertise in this specific.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we hang out, like on the other side of our business, like on the gift cards, phone refills, like we go to those conferences and you discuss with some other company in the space and have a conversation, and they start asking about like, so what are your fraud rates and what are your systems are you using? And I'm like, they don't have fraud. Like we accept zero comms, so there's some monitoring there, but other than that, it's not really a thing in our space, and like when you talk to people who are like, oh, okay, but for us, because for us 90% of all transactions are fraud, right? Yeah, and so you have to sift out the remaining 10% that are good. Yeah, and imagine the efforts that have to go into that, and there's and we don't have that like that skill in-house yet. And
Bitcoin fixes this.
Yeah, absolutely. Bitcoin fixes this. And that's the thing is that do we want to spend the effort to acquire all of that expertise and to navigate in that world? And
do you want to spend the effort on acquiring the expertise of running an Ethereum node?
We have done that. So
I hear they don't fully sync. Did you fully sync it? Yes,
we
100%.
have, as far as I understand, I need to double check with my man in the other room, but my understanding is that we have an Ethereum node that is pretty full. Just hopeful. I'm not super sure, but I think it's like at the highest or like one of the higher grades. Like I know that we have a server that keeps going down periodically. So I'm guessing it's pretty full.
That is most certainly the
but,
Ethereum thing.
pretty good.
but we have an Ethereum node. We're running our own and so on. And I think it's like also important. Like it's a different community with different values. They do different trade-offs and decentralization and whatnot. But there are useful things that are coming out of it. And it would be stupid not to watch it. And like for example, WebLN is something that we're all super happy to use. But WebLN is a straight-up rip of Web3, which is MetaMask. Right. So this is a technology that was invented in the Ethereum world, and that
I wouldn't say that.
well,
They ripped it off out of this JavaScript injection stuff would be 10 years technology.
Sure, but sure. I'm not saying that, and you can do the same with the window post message and whatnot.
We already,
So,
yeah.
I'm not saying that it's necessarily a Nobel Prize winning major achievement, but it is like it massively improves user experience. Yeah, and just I mean, look, the whole pattern of having a browser inside of the wallet. Yeah, also something that is popularized by the Ethereum people. Also not no Nobel Prize, but it's a way of dealing with the fact that like if you're on an iPhone and you click a pay with Bitcoin button, it will open a random wallet and you have no way of changing it. Yeah. And it's like, and like to me, that's the like, okay, Lightning is cool and all, and we're all here for Lightning. But if I could fix one thing, it's like I would fix that functionality in iOS. That like just let me pick whichever wallet I have. Like Android can do it. Why can't you do it as well?
That would be good.
Because if you're like me and you have all of the wallets, then it's like almost certainly is gonna pick the wrong one.
There's a spike in new Lightning wallet, so I always install the new one, and it overrides my Breeze wallet, and I go, fuck, I don't know. I want to use Breeze. I don't want to use this new wallet. Yeah, I agree. That's a pain in the user experience.
It's always been good for the altcoins to be the laboratories of Bitcoin, or for us to work on new ideas. Like Monero works on privacy, and Zcash works on privacy, and Dash or Darkcoin works on privacy. But the problem for me is I never thought they should be worth like $1,300 a coin or whatever it was. It's when they started getting the values, and when the values started getting the hype, that we lost track of these being.
And they are hyping themselves. That's the problem.
And they took the money and they bought more hype.
As are we.
This circle of hype. I mean,
as are we?
We don't have any.
We're not. We're not. Of
course.
Yeah, we can't really roll this snowball as well as they can with $1 million.
It's completely different. It's not like we're trying to elevate each other in terms of energy and stuff like that, but we're not doing scams together. Like,
what do you think HODL means?
HODL?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
HODL.
No, it's a great,
it's a drunk guy.
Yeah.
He wrote it on
HODL implies the advice that the price is going to go up, right? The person giving the HODL advice, is saying that you should hold your coins because the price might go up. I'm not so much it even
says that. I mean, if you look at the original announcement, the guy basically said that he couldn't time his trades right, and that he didn't have a crystal ball, and he was just some idiot, and it went up, and he'd buy, and it would go down, and he would sell, and he was just like, enough of this. I've made a bet on a new technology. I'm going to be right or wrong. It's going to $0 or $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm 10% more right because I'm trading and I'm nervous all the time and I'm checking my price and I got to look at my guru, and my guru says if it goes up to 7,900, it could go higher. If it goes down to 7,800, it could go lower. My guru is not helping. And even then, if you have a guru that says it must go to 1,500 and they're wrong, they're not a valuable guru. So I think rather than all that guru nonsense, you say, I found a new technology. I'm going to take my risk on it and I'm going to hodl my coins. But even then, I think it's far too simplistic, and we need hodl plus profits. If you're up 10,000% on something, if selling 10% of it would change your life because you could pay off your debts, or you could buy a new house or a new mattress or new shoes or whatever it is, do it. Like, sell it. Like, I mean, this hodl forever thing, like, it's nice, but eventually take some profits. And again, on the other side, if you're down 10,000% and you need to sell it to pay next month's rent, you probably should sell it, or you should get a job, or you should do something else. But this doing something endlessly forever is not smart. But I think trying to time these tops and bottoms is just going to stress you out, lead you to gurus, lead you to nonsense. All these charts, you put numbers on them and they have all these things and they all act as a big group. And they're just really confirmation bias and they're agreeing with each other. Whereas if a whale comes in, this is still small enough. A whale comes in, he wants to buy all the coins. All your charts don't matter. He wants to sell all the coins. All your charts don't matter as well. We are very
You just
small,
need to
very
look at
early.
yesterday's charts to understand that.
Yeah, yeah. You can only properly predict what happened yesterday. So, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
So what is the new magic you're gonna bring into Breeze soon in 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Actually, I'm gonna announce something new service tomorrow. If you're
Can we get a spoiler?
So if you are familiar with our Connect to Pay feature, where the problem with mobile nodes is that if I want to do peer-to-peer payments, both of the nodes need to be online at the same time. So the traditional landing way of doing that is like you create an invoice, you send the invoice to your friend, then you need to coordinate with your friend to pay the invoice, right? You call them or you text them, you know, get online. And doing that in a non-custodial fashion is a challenge. So we've created this notion of like a phone call to pay. This is the Connect to Pay. So we coordinate both parties to be online at the same time using mobile notification. So it's already in the product. The next stage of it is going to be asynchronous payments. So I want to pay you in a Venmo-like style, right? I want to pay Max 100 Satoshi. And I don't want you to be online at the same time that I'm issuing this payment. So we're going to introduce something called the Lightning Rod. And this Lightning Rod is like a relay node that coordinates the payment in a trustless way.
Okay, so and for the
the user experience is instead of waiting for the other party to join the payment session and waiting for him to be online and then you're offline and you do this coordination, you get this Venmo-like experience that you just sent out the payment and the payment gets settled asynchronously.
Okay. Is there a custodial risk in here? Or is it
No. So the way that we plan to do that is completely trustless. So we're gonna.
Fantastic! I'm looking forward to that announcement.
Yeah, I'm gonna detail some of the magic tomorrow.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Thank you for the spoiler, Roy. And same question to you, Sergey. What are you tinkering on?
So right now we're working a lot on improving the Lightning experience for businesses. So we're right now working on a service that will let merchants or exchanges or whoever, like entities that run a node on a server, sort of to have a capacity guarantee from Bitrefill and make sure using turbo channels and stuff, make sure that they always able to send, always able to receive with no downtime. And together with that, a couple of other like partnerships and things that shows how easy Lightning makes integrations between different centralized services, and how easy you can do, for example, how you can integrate Bitrefill into things like a wallet or an exchange. Wallets we've seen, but like in browser online services, I think it will shift people's understanding of what Lightning can do another step. And I quite look forward to that.
Very nice. And anything new coming up with your idea of having the circular economy?
Well, I think this stuff is related to the circular economy because getting different services interconnected is a big part. We're adding more countries to Bitrefill for gift cards, as I mentioned. When it comes to like earning coins, if you mean, we're still playing around, experimenting, but it's a couple of steps off for us. So we're focusing on some other things in the immediate future.
Okay, fantastic. So, Piers, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we finish, where can people download and learn more about Breeze?
Breeze.technology, Breeze without an E at the end, because I saw that someone tried to hijack our branding. So there's Breeze with E.technology. That's not the right domain. Breeze without an E.technology. You can download it for the iOS or for iPhones.
All right. Where can they learn more about
Android,
Bitrefill as well?
You can go to bitrefill.com. and at Bitrefill on Twitter and Bitrefill on Telegram and on Reddit and so on.
Right. All right. Thank you guys very much.
All right.
Thank you very much. Keep on building. And
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
yes.
Thank you, man.
Keep it on my-
And send us in more people from the hallway. Just keep them coming.
Well, we might be joined by
Julian.
Are you?
Yeah,
Yes, there he is.
Wasim, you want to come in too? We got lots of space.
Double tagging.
Just keep adding people to the couch here.
So, Wasim, how are you?
Good. I'm fine. I just got here. I just found out about lightning and I'm here to fix it.
Exactly.
That's
All the
fast.
problems, they will be solved.
I don't know anything about lightning. But the less you know, the more sure you can be that you can fix things.
That's right.
How are you going to fix it?
Well, the beauty of it being on upper layers, we'll just tear it down and start again. So
You got to
we're
make
like
it.
anarchists, right?
faster.
That's the first thing we try. We
It's not
burn
fast
it
enough.
around, right?
Burn it.
But fortunately, if there was a critical problem with the whole thing, we could tear it down and start again.
Actually,
Yeah.
you really could.
Cash them all right back out to Bitcoin. Yeah.
So this is the conversation I used to have with my dear misguided friends in the Ethereum world that would always look at DAI more favorably than Lightning. And I would always say the same thing. It's like if DAI is a systemic risk, the failure of that will wreck, there'll be collateral damage across the whole of their network. On an L2 system, I mean, sure, there'll be some collateralized HTLCs, which, may go south, awry. You can talk more of the consequences than me, but we can build it again better.
Better, harder, stronger. What is dead may never die.
Well, I don't know if we can get any faster.
Lightning fast. And Julian, how are you?
Fine. Great conference, a lot of new things. I'm discovering a lot. Lot of new use cases, lot of new things. People can buy beers, coffees. They use Lightning. Just works.
Magic.
It just works. It's done. Bitcoin, it's done. Lightning, it's done.
So let's go party.
Yes, let's go party with Lightning.
Fantastic. So Wasim, you organized the last couple days, weeks, the MIT Digital Currency Initiative conference ish. I don't know.
Yes.
What was the title?
Sure. Yeah. Let me give a little rundown if you
Sure.
like. So we're starting a new journal and conference series, and it's not really just a MIT thing. We have editors from other institutions, people on the advisory board from all over the place, academia and practice, reviewers from like really quite a broad cross section of fields, like not just from the engineering, cryptography, and the kind of technical side, but also people from economics, law, policy, finance, even like network science, complex systems. We're trying to find a way to get all of these people talking together and like really picking apart, getting to the bottom of things. So you can imagine what it's like to have, there's an interesting side story from today. Often the Bitcoiners and the other people interested in cryptocurrencies don't tend to mix it IRL. And there may or may not be reasons for that. So what we're trying to do in this crypto economic systems project is to build a big tent where we can get everyone together. Now you can imagine there's a bit of friction there. So people that design Byzantine fault tolerant protocols are like, well, Bitcoin is a waste of energy, so that's a failure. And here's my 2/3 + 1 thing, and then that's what we like. Proof of stake people are like, insert energy argument here, and my coin fixes this, or we have an approach to mitigate that. And then Bitcoiners are standing up and saying this is just proof of X is a circular argument and it doesn't work. But at least they're having the conversations in the same room, so we're kind of getting towards substantive debate.
So the shit throwing is no longer on Twitter and in cyberspace. It's actually in meat space.
Yes, I'm actually. Let me broadcast this to the interwebs. I'm inviting you all to throw, well-formatted intellectual shit in my direction, as we have a call for papers, which closes on the 29th of October. We've just extended that, so this one goes out to you on the interwebs. If you have any interesting papers or ideas which you can kind of knock together into a journal format within the next week or two. This is a very rare and fine opportunity to get those peer reviewed by people that know their stuff across disciplines. So imagine a paper that looks at economic implications of network choices. We'll get people from the economics side and from the cryptography and engineering side to really kind of pick apart these things. So if you're brave out there, if you've written a white paper and you're brave enough to get it looked at, send it to us. Yes, please. To go to cryptoeconomic.systems or cryptoeconomicsystems.pubpub.org. Advert over.
Well, and one interesting white paper would be the condensat white paper. Do you even have a white paper?
No, or yes, but white paper, I'm still updating it every day. So there is a lot of work to do. Condensat is a big project. It's a bank, but there are so many things to say about this kind of thing, because when I talk to people and I show them this project, some of them tell me, "Oh, but it's a bank. What are you doing? We are fighting banks." And maybe when you put people together to have some debates, it can lead to interesting things. And with this kind of project, I got to work with some officials, governments, and that kind of things. And yes, this is the bank. This is the first step to build some environment, ecosystem, which put people together to work with protocols and all this technology to make this happen in the real economy. Because yes, there is a lot of people to onboard, and with Bitcoin technologies and that kind of thing. And the biggest question is KYC, of course. And for a banking project, KYC is just a big thing in the center of
this
debate.
Non-negotiable black box.
That's what I've been thinking, what I've noticed with whole government officials and institutions I work with, is they don't get it. They don't get cryptocurrencies. They do KYC, AML, CTF things, and even the G7 said it was a KYC, AML, CTF, and people who build a weapon of mass destruction. They level up the thing. And they don't get what is a cryptocurrency. And because they are in a corner because of Libra, because Mark Zuckerberg is pushing them in the corner.
Oh, there's a lot of very quick, hasty reactions happening now. Yeah.
They're asking me, what can I do? Can we do? What is this fiat token? Can we do this? And they don't get that KYC, AML regulation can't apply to a tokenized fiat. And if you have some feedback and this kind of, I don't know if people is working with government officials and central banks. If you know somebody that gets what is cryptocurrency, and officials that know that KYC is not needed anymore in our crypto world.
I think it's going to be difficult to, at least for now, to sell people on that we're in a fundamentally different paradigm. People are still trying to apply the logic and the rules from the previous mindset. And so, yeah, going back to the conference we had a couple of weeks ago, we had people from the IMF talking about central bank digital currencies. You had somebody from the Federal Reserve of Boston talking about how they might set up supervisory nodes so that may take the function of this kind of brutalistic turnstile KYC at the entrance and the exit of every transaction. And you might be able to kind of oversee the network at a different level, maybe more like a panopticon. Whether that's better or not, I'm not sure.
All our life is a prison. Sounds great.
Oh, these are my own opinions, by the way.
Of course. But yes, this kind of discussions, this debate, I think the same way we have to put more and more people in the debate.
The quality of the debate from traditional finance and from banking and from these institutions like the IMF and so on, the quality of the thoughts and the ideas is much improved from a few years ago.
Yes.
Like it was very worrying how primitive the view and the conception of what was going on in this space was a few years ago. I think actually now they have a much better handle on what is going on and what the potential or the potential possible trajectories of these technologies are. And I think a lot of it is, especially I noticed a big shift with Libra.
Yes.
Bitcoin went from being like public enemy number one to that kind of like weird thing over there that doesn't really affect us anymore.
Yeah.
And then Libra became the new enemy,
They're
or the
starting to
new
love it.
antagonist, let's say. An enemy is a strong word, antagonist.
Libra definitely has the potential for the network effect. Giving it instantly to every Facebook user on earth is something we all wish we could do with Bitcoin. So that does give them an advance there. But I still think Bitcoin's the danger in the room. It's the crocodile swimming around and everyone's ignoring it, and they're just going to keep ignoring it as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then pretty soon, I think they'll find the original enemy again.
This may be the ultimate use case for stable coins and altcoins, is the kind of garnish or the distraction, shiny objects that slow people down. We've seen Home Alone, right? You know, so maybe the baubles on the floor and the smashed glass around the window, maybe that's altcoins and enterprise blockchain.
I think that's it. And now they're inside the house and they can't get out, and they're thinking, oh, it's fine, we'll just stay inside Bitcoin's house. And then a few years later, they'll realize they have no choice but to stay inside Bitcoin's house, and that the whole world has become Bitcoin's house. And yeah, it's not looking good for them. Like they're still like they're thinking they can change it. We're in that whole we can adapt, we can change it phase. They haven't quite come to acceptance.
It's a tricky one though. I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of somebody that administers a nation state, a government, or a central bank, or a treasury, or something like that, you know, the life expectancy or the median life expectancy of government issued money is limited. Every time we hit financial crises, these things look very shaky. You know, every 10 years or so, we question the existence of the euro, the pound, or the dollar, or whatever it is.
Don't fuck up the money.
And so, yeah, it's I see why they tried to build a better mousetrap. They tried to build a better fiat currency system. I understand what motivations behind that. The question is like, how is that going to interact with what's already out there and can't be stopped?
It's an immovable force meets a unstoppable object, or I did it backwards or something. Unstoppable force meets an immovable object. It's a long day.
Conflict.
But something, they both can't exist in the same universe, blah, blah, blah. Some guy gave a speech and he used comic books as the example, and now I remember
it's
it.
It's a really nice one, like related to, I can't actually remember who said it, so I'm very sorry about that. But it's a beam of light bends back on itself, producing great jets of radiation, all disappears in a tunnel of light, like the footprints of a man walking in snow.
Precisely.
So maybe that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. I've read in my tea leaves. That's what's going to happen.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what are some of the new magic that you thought about for Condensat?
There are some. I work a lot more on the product vision, on all these UX, UI things. And I came to this point is the project I'm working on, the bank. Yes, this is the first pillar of the thing, but this is just a bank. And we need to connect with a lot of projects, other projects. I made we are working with Bitcoin. We do trading, we do a lot of things. And we discussed about KYC problems. People are doing KYC over and over KYC. So there is some protocol to create about KYC, and we are working on this to make KYC shareable among the different projects. And the aim of this thing is to have some kind of application store, like Android or iOS, whatever. You have your icons, you click your bank icon, your bank account, you open your account, you do your KYC, and then when you have it, you can access all other services, like exchanges, Kraken or whatever, lenders, token issuers, this kind of service we are doing. If we mix all the services, we can think of a much simpler way for an entrepreneur to do his job. because I'm an entrepreneur. I just do in one click the bank opening, company registration, mean of payments like credit cards. Sorry for it. You can even issue token for your equity and put this on a place where you can sell it. So you have all this thing into one place. So I'm just a bank, and I need to work with all community people on a protocol level, so technical, to make it work. That's it.
Good luck.
The coordination, right?
But this is open source, and of course it's free. Bank has to be free. You don't pay for banks. This is why we have to be the bank. To people that say me, "Oh, your bank is bad." If you want to kill the banks, we have to be the bank and kill them by capitalism.
The Trojan bank.
Yes, you get it.
Trojan horses are very cool. You fill up all your people inside, get inside the walls. They think it's like a tribute. And then late at night, you get out and you get to burn the walls of Troy to the ground.
You just have to hope that they don't burn the horse while you're inside.
It was all over a woman, the whole war. But she was Helen of Troy. She was like worth fighting for. The face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless towers of Ilium. What Marlowe would say.
But
and
looking at it from
Shakespeare in Love too.
Looking at it from an abstract perspective, it's also a nice illustration of somebody's playing the game and somebody else is playing the metagame. And so this is something I think that as Bitcoiners, we also like sometimes fall into the trap of being too earnest and too like straightforward. And we may be focused so much on playing the game of Bitcoin that the metagame that is also occurring may escape us. And I'd like to heavily recommend all the writing on epsilon theory, particularly Ben Hunt's work, for any aspiring metagame player.
How do we win the metagame?
Well, first of all, you have to realize that the metagame exists and is ongoing. And by the time you've done that, you're already behind because there's already people also playing this game. So it's a mindset thing. I think, we're all guilty of like, there's a carrot and there's a stick and we go towards the carrot and we go away from the stick. But like,
not some of us.
Well, yeah, it's okay. But who's holding those carrots and sticks? Why are they dangling them in particular directions? Interesting questions.
I thought you were going to go the other way. I thought you were going to say that the Bitcoiners only cared about the meta game and we needed to care more about the real game, or we think we're the smartest person at the table and we're playing games inside of games inside of games and everyone else is just playing straight poker.
Sure, but then coming back to epsilon theory, there's an interesting concept in there, which is too clever by half, where like, I'm guilty of this. Like I got all these pieces of paper, so then they make you think that you're smart because you think you're smart. You take confidence in your actions, that you've assessed the situation and you think you know all the layers and the levels to it. And you fools rush in where angels fear to tread sometimes.
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? The smart people are all very humble and then stupid people are all very full of themselves. So you have to watch out for that. We have a lot of that too.
I think this may also be a Twitter version of that. Something to do with it being inversely proportional to the number of followers somebody has. Plus, sorry, Tom.
Oh, it's all right. I don't even have that many. People have 3 times as much. But I also think the anonymity helps. Having a mask or something, it's a lot easier to mouth off to somebody, not directly. You meet them in person, you're like, oh, they seem pretty nice. I should be nice to them.
But it's a kind of like a reputation system, Twitter, and you can either play it where your reputation is not tied to your IRL identity or it is. And I've gone from being like having a pseudonymous Twitter account where I knew nobody who I was anyway. I could kind of just say what I wanted, chasing clout and likes and whatever. And now I've got like I'm a doxed fool with my face on my profile, my full name, and so I now have to like I'm in the shackles of doxed reputation purgatory.
I keep thinking again, I keep quoting it, so it must be one of my favorite movies. But David Mamet, the playwright, wrote a movie called Heist. And one of the great things they say in it is Gene Hackman's all mad because he's been exposed and he had to take his mask off during the heist to help somebody or something. So he's like, they put my face on a postage stamp. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm out. I'm not going to be a criminal anymore. Like, it's over. And they're like, no, one more job. And yeah, we were walking around that goofy cypherpunk meetup yesterday and they gave me a mask and it was great. So I was, oh, Batman, where's the mask? Oh. It happens right away. But still, I was wearing the same hat. I was wearing the same scarf. I was wearing my jacket that I like.
Did you change your voice? Did you change your voice, Tom?
I talked like this. So I was like, good morning, Bitcoins. And they're like, who's that? Oh, shit. I've heard that before.
Oh, he's on West Coast time still.
Good morning, Bitcoins. I'll just talk like this. No one will know who I am.
Did it work?
No, not at all.
Shit.
They all knew, even like the guy at the door, he had a mask. And it turns out we've done 3 interviews in a row at Parallel Polis. So even though with a mask, I'm like, I know you. And then I knew this guy, but he had a mask. I was pretending not who he was. You don't want to use his name. It would like destroy everything. No. So, and then, yeah, several other people, I recognized them through their masks.
I know, and even there was one of like an anonymous mask, right? The classical one with another one and like a hoodie all the way. I was still like, I know you.
Well, then the worst thing is it's so easy. You bring in your mind, you're like, just call him by the name. Oh, hello, Jeff. And it's like, oh, I just said Jeff.
What's your cypherpunk name?
Yeah, why don't we call you here? Oh, Mad Bitcoins. Oh, no, that doesn't work either. Everyone knows who that is. Oh, T Hunt. No, that doesn't work either. No. So yeah,
I was always so bad at giving myself pseudonymous names. And then I just discovered Diceware. And that just makes so much sense. You just have this huge word list. You roll a couple dice and tada, you have your NIM.
Oh, now we've got an interesting topic. Has anybody read The Dice Man by Luke Reinhardt?
The Dice?
Have you read it? You might be the sort of person that's read it.
It sounds like Andrew Dice Clay's nickname, so I don't know.
It's a really cool book about free will and agency. So basically the story goes that some guy loses his mind and then he's got a bunch of dice and he decides to give his agency to roll the dice to random outcomes. So he selects the outcomes, obviously. Some of those are like disfavorable to him, some are favorable, some are neutral. And it's about his descent into like the stuff that happens. I don't want to.
I mean, it couldn't be any worse than what I'm doing now. So in general, I could see that for using the Magic 8 Ball or some kind of decision machine where if I can push it to the decision point, the ball can make the choice. And you just have to accept it though, which I've often found one of the best tools for figuring something out, solving a problem. Like my mom would put one video game in one hand, put one video game in the other hand, put them behind her back, and then I'd pick one. And if it was the one I wanted, I was like, yes, it's the one I wanted. If I was disappointed, it's like, oh, I should get the other game. And it would solve at least a binary choice. I could solve that.
But there's already, like, I found that there's a use case for this. It's admittedly quite a niche use case. There is a movie of the Dice Man that came out quite recently, by the way. So I'd recommend checking that out.
Hickory Dickory Dock.
It's
made
a little higher
something on
that.
There's
a kind of academic conference called Financial Crypto, and they have a deadline for submissions, just like the deadline for our conference's submissions, which is in 10 days time. Cryptoeconomic.systems.
Still got a chance.
They do that thing where they have a deadline, and then they have like that's kind of the certain deadline. Then they have a determined like an uncertain deadline, which is determined by the hash of the block at a certain block height in the Bitcoin blockchain.
Block time.
Yeah, using the output of the hash to determine the final deadline for the conference. And I think that's pretty cool.
Douglas Adams, he said a great thing about deadlines. He said, I love the whooshing sound they make when they fly by.
Actually, my bachelor thesis, I did timestamp, of course, on Bitcoin. So I have proof that I handed it in time. And of course, I also PGP signed all the commits of the GitHub or of the Git chain that I worked on it. So it was.
And the people that you submitted this to, do they understand timestamps and PGP?
They're going to find out later. They're like
when they actually need it.
What they'll do is they'll be like, oh, this is our, years later, they're like, this is our first student to ever put their paper into the Bitcoin network and to timestamp it. We're very excited. And then someone will probably be like, Max Hillerbrand did that 15 years ago, sir.
But there's also block certs, which is like MIT and a few other universities have got like a kind of degree certification attestation using Bitcoin as well, which is nice.
Bitcoin fixes this.
Getting updates from the field. Blue Wallet is crashing when you try to get a Bitcoin address to fund it, and the only way to buy beer is Android or is Lightning. They won't take any money for the beer, so we're having difficulties buying beer. Is what I'm hearing from the field.
Oh,
But if people are sober, they won't be able to get
use
reckless.
a real wallet and no.
What should they use? Tell me now. I'll tell.
Eclair wallet.
So you need a node.
No.
Eclair.
Run your.
Is it on Android or is it on Apple?
For both, I think. You could use something like Breeze wallet, which is fantastic, or you could run your own Bitcoin full node at your home, your nodle, and you connect to it over Orbot, over Tor with the Zeus app. That's
This
what
is
I'm
actually
doing.
not a nodle. This is a sweatshirt.
Queuing for beer, sir. When beer?
When beer? Actually, I think now. Should we get beer? Actually, first coffee, then beer.
I was going to break down and have a soda. I've been really good about trying to avoid the caffeine today. I had like a lemon drink and an apple drink and a water drink. But I'm starting to run out of power. Like the hamster wheels in my head are slowing down. Like it's been a long day. We're well, now we have to go
6 hours.
7.5
hours.
6.5 hours if we go 7 more minutes. But that's just 7 minutes in the average. But what's in the chat? What's Bud say? Oh,
nothing.
Oh, come on, this is good. Yeah, it's tough with all these different live streams. There's a live stream of the main room, there's a live stream of the second room, and then there's this live stream. So I don't blame you, audience, if you watch the other live streams first, you came back later and you watched this one, or you listen to the podcast version on World Crypto Network podcasts. I understand you, audience. You're busy. You have 3 live stream choices. The guy in the chat even told us, he's like, I have 3 tabs open. I don't know what to do. I imagine we got the shaft on that one.
Fully automated luxury communism.
Yeah.
Too many choices, too many options. But are we going to head to the end for today, which means we have to pack it all up too? Or should we let's come back in 15 minutes, do another one or something?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to leave it open-ended. We're not sure this is the end for today. So we might be back later. We're going to leave the gear here for a few minutes, have a break. Then if everyone develops energy, we'll come back. Otherwise, we'll come back. We'll take this down. I'll go home, go to bed. Everyone can go out and party. The conferences are really funny if you like work it for like 6 hours. And again, everyone's trying to take your room and take away all your things. And you're like, okay, so I survived all that. Now it's like break time. And everyone else is like, I sat in a chair all day and listened to people talk. I'm ready to go. Like they're in a total different mind space than I'm in. So
there's a bit too much passiveness at conferences, and I'm also guilty as a conference organizer for organizing a bunch of sessions where person on stage, we sit down, listen to person says things, we clap, next person comes on stage.
Well, the clapping is important because that's movement, right? That gives you energy.
That's the only exercise.
You know where the clapping came from? You probably know where it came from.
There is a lot of people
keeps fairies alive.
Talking about other subjects. A lot of people come here to see like 1 or 2 speakers because they like them, but they spend most of the time outside speaking with other people.
Yeah, it's a gathering. It's a meeting of minds.
Oh yeah, it's all about the hallway con. But yeah, I do wish that conferences were more interactive. And part of what I like about doing this couch is if I get somebody on here and I got a question, I ask them. And if they answer, it's interesting. If they dodge, that's interesting too. But yeah, it is much more interactive. It sounds like they've opened the floodgates outside.
Yeah. We also tried to do this through the conference we did in MIT as well. We tried to have kind of structured roundtables.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to herd cats in a particular direction when there's several other things they could be doing.
As there is no ask me anything format.
Well, there was the Socratic seminar for the Lightning Week earlier, and that was fantastic.
As long as you set out, you frame it in advance, like at the start, frame the kind of rules of the protocol, essentially. It's an interactive protocol.
Yeah, it was very nice. We're gonna Jeff and I are gonna organize some more Socratic seminars here in Berlin.
Please do. I'm happy to help. Yeah, I've also been speaking with some other friends that are deep into Bitcoin that are lamenting the lack of. We meet for coffees in the weekends to do it ourselves. So let's do it in a bigger room with other people.
Fantastic. Exactly. That's it. Perfect.
All right. I've always loved the idea of the intellectual salon. So let's bring it back. But I think we're going to end this here. We're going to start pushing all the buttons. So thanks to everybody for joining us. We might be back later. Otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow with another day of the Lightning Conference.
Bye, Mom.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.